Final. Tiger. Round. Perfect. Yoga flame. USA. Round 3. Round 7. 7. Perfect. 7. You win. 7. Spain. Brazil. Sonic boom. 7. Shoryuken. Hadouken. Yoga fire. Thailand. China. USSR. Round 1. You win. Perfect. Uppercut. Perfect. 7. Sonic boom. Spain.
Good evening, gentlemen of the Manosphere. Oos. Welcome to the 7th Coast Dojo. It is your host, 7th Sensei, partnered with West Coast Sensei. How are you doing today, West Coast?
I'm doing all right. I'm definitely alive. For my folks in the West Coast, I hope you're staying safe inside your homes, because I know it's really, really smoky.
Absolutely, absolutely. What was going on out there, just for those of us in the East? Let us know what's happening.
Yeah, so apparently there were a random lightning strikes that happened all throughout the West Coast, and they caused a whole bunch of fires to happen. And at least in a certain amount of areas in Central California and Northern California, there's a lot of folks who had to be evacuated. In the aftermath, or the residual effect of it, was there was just a whole bunch of smoke that got brushed up and hit basically all of the surrounding cities. So if you're a part or around a surrounding city, you just woke up to just a cloud of smoke. You would have thought you was in a you would have thought it was a worldwide 420 over here, man. It was crazy. Not the good 420, So yeah, man. I think that it's starting to clear up though. A lot of the breeze, at least in the area that I'm at, was starting to push some of the smoke out, but it's still here. So, hopefully folks are staying safe out there,
Man, yeah, guys, over in the East, let's pray for some of our brothers and sisters over in the West. Make sure that they stay safe. But outside of that, how's your week been going, man?
My week's been going good, man. It's been going good. How about you?
Likewise, it's been really, really quiet for the most part over here in the East. I haven't heard anything like tragic. There was a bit of like thunderstorming happening, and the thunderous bangs were a little loud, but nothing that we couldn't handle. My dog was a little afraid though, so I had to comfort her.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's been pretty chill. You know,
It's good, man. It's real good. I know that the weather's been very blurred, man. Weather's been very weird lately, man. I can't even call it, bro. It's crazy.
absolutely, man. But you know, let's have some of the brothers up on the screen who bowed in early. We have D Scott, Oos, Oos to you,
Oost.
brother D Scott. We have Shop Talk Live, Oos, big Oos to you, brothers, coming in really early for this conversation that we have for you guys today. So, if you've tuned in for the past few weeks, you've noticed that we started our literary analysis on the Man Not by Tommy J. Curry. And we really were adamant about brothers who were tuning in to purchase the book and support Brother Curry, you know, AB Media, Oos. But
Oost.
yes, we wanted to make sure that brothers was supporting, you know, Tommy Curry for the literature that we're breaking down. You know, we want to make sure that that money circulates in our community 7 times over before it reaches the outset, you know? And I think that it
Yeah.
is very possible for us to do so. But
Yes. Yes, indeed. And if you haven't, the link to the Man Not is in the description. So go ahead and hit that link and get your copy. And you can follow with us and continue to, break this good piece of literature down because it is important to, young brothers out here, especially in today's climate, as we continue to delve into this discussion. But yeah, go ahead, Seventh.
absolutely. Now, I noticed that there was a few comments from previous streams where brothers were like, I need to tune into, you know, the previous episodes because I really don't understand what's going on. Well, the purpose of this particular stream today is to give you guys a recap. For those who weren't tuned in, you know, I know there were other brothers that were with us since episode 1, and now we're going to talk about it up until current. We also released the first episode till now back on the channel. So for your viewing pleasure, for the time being, you can catch up, get that recap of those conversations. And as we continue to have more of these open discussions after breaking down some of the literature, you're welcome to tune in and join and put your piece into the discussion. West Coast and I have already dropped the link for this open panel. So we're looking forward to speaking with brothers about this piece of literature. And West Coast, you have the floor. Is there anything you want to get off?
Yes, indeed, man. Definitely looking forward to this conversation, really, because I know that we in the last 3 streams we covered a lot, and so feedback is definitely encouraged, and thoughts are definitely encouraged as we continue to move forward. Because I don't know about you, but for me, I know that this read it's a very heavy read, and there's lots of perspectives and lots of different vantage points that we covered, at least between the two of us, that definitely can add some insight from other brothers and taking other brothers' perspectives and what the impression they took from the literature was. Just being a black man here in America, it behooves you to really sit and consider what your station is and how it impacts you. And I know that depending on your station in life, whatever your social economic sphere or strata that you exist in, you can have a different perspective, a different vantage point. But even under all of those pretenses, I've noticed there's a streamline or a consistent there's a consistent theme that goes on here that can be applicable no matter where you're at. But what I'm interested in is hearing about the nuance depending on other brothers, point of view, and especially in relation to what's going on in today's climate as far as the political strata and the cultural norms and the cultural perspectives. Like there was a link that I shared with you, brother Seventh, in regards to it was I think it was Antifa and the Proud Boys. I don't know. Have you heard of some people call it the Proud Boys before?
Not until you sent me that that particular story, man. And
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
for those who don't know, because I didn't get to finish it, man. That stream, I have to tune back in and get it in its entirety. Could you explain to them what the Proud Boys, what they stand for, if you know?
I have no clue. That was the first time that I've ever seen them before. I just saw it linked together with Antifa, and basically there was a rally that went on in Oregon. It was a live stream between BLM and Antifa. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find the video because they actually have follow up footage. They have follow up footage to said occurrence that it it definitely sheds a light and as far as what the climate is because at least from what I noticed in the video, um on the BLM side it was primarily it wasn't us. It wasn't us that was promoting BLM, and there was a lot of activity that was being done under the name of BLM and done under the name of black men that I think definitely bears observation to look at so then you can be made privy about what society in general is going to apply to you. Going back to what Dr. Curry speaks on as far as uh, the black male body being continually rejuvenated in whatever light or whatever space or whatever function that's needed to fit whatever current societal space that it sits under. So while I pull that up, Brother Seventh, go ahead and you know, take the floor and give us some of your thoughts on either the video or anything else that you wanted to cover.
I wanted to talk about before we get into the breakdown and for, some other brothers join the stream to talk about the book. I wanted to talk about the terminology that's set here in this space and how fast certain things can catch on. And in particular, I remember on I'm trying to remember whose stream it was exactly, but the terminology Bosco, how it initially started from one stream and now it's like widely known throughout the space. So it's interesting how fast information can travel. I think that as we continue with this content and other content creators that produce quality content, that the same speed that terminology can travel throughout the space, so will impactful information. I'm being very optimistic in that regard because I still notice that as per the man not, there still seems to be the obsession with the black male phallus, where it's going, who's it coming in contact with, and stories of why it hurts them so much that the black male phallus seems to be the most powerful tool to get us out of certain situations, but also the most detrimental in some ways because our pale counterparts can't seem to let go of it. Neither can our female counterparts, if you will. There's still a bit of conversations that we here in the dojo said we were going to kill, but it's still kind of happening. And I hope in the near future that those things will be put to bed and we can continue to move on to bigger and better things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think that as I sit back and observe, I think that it's a continual battle, man. It's one of those things where people are so accustomed to a certain behavior and a certain way of thinking and a certain way of interacting that breaking them out of that habit or giving them an alternative, that's something that is going to take time. um and I'm still looking for this video. I think that they removed it, but it just goes to show, as I'm looking through this thread of just different viewpoints and different titles of content, it reinforces what my observation, at least what I'm seeing, is people are so in the habit and so accustomed to um being so divisive and being antagonistic for the sake of being antagonistic, that that's all they know and that's considered normal. So to try to break them out of that and try to move them away from that is just going to take time, and it's going to take things and it's going to take discussions like these and breakdowns like these in order to push things forward. It's going to be an ongoing. It's one of those ongoing problems that just need to be resolved through diligence and perseverance, and that's my take on it. um especially when it comes to um the idea of a Bosco, the fact that, like, our term and how and how we've developed it and how it's being used now, the actual person or the entity in which we're describing, it's not anything that's new to the community at large. They actually have a designated role, as you can see in the breakdown of the man, not as well as what you see in day to day, and even when you just take a glimpse back at history, when you look at some of these movements, when you sit back and look at a lot of the movements that have occurred throughout history, whether it be in the civil rights era, the Black Panther Party, SNCC, uh, just I'm trying to think of some other ones. The Nat Turner Rebellion. Um, you're always gonna have a level of detractor, or you're gonna have somebody within your group that is going to associate and identify with the side or the subgroup that is of your detriment, or basically they've outlined your station to be of a permanent underclass. And anytime that there are viable and constructive solutions that can be put to the forefront to actually push it forward, it typically has two different directions. It's either one, they get ignored, and which is typically the case in the model that they want to happen, where the vast majority are focused on the problem, or the problem how they see it to be pushed in the forefront in one area, and the actual solution is buried under the hatchet. Or two, if it does garner any type of attention or galvanization, then you have agent provocateurs, and you have people who come in to try to dismantle it. And you can see it in the literature. You can see it in the literature. You can see it in the media, and you can see it in this sector here. When you talk about the literature from a literature standpoint, right? The man not right. When we covered the idea of the black macho and the myth of the black superwoman, and the woman who authored that piece of literature ending up denouncing all of the heinous and incorrect at that information that she provided, that was based off of pure anecdotal citation, it doesn't mean anything because the damage was already done. And this idea of this boogeyman, this big black boogeyman, is been put into the ecosystem, the political and cultural ecosystem, to be reinvented, reinvigorated, and used however people want. And you can hear it in the talks that get brought up throughout conversations here, and I'm pretty sure we've all had personal accounts of it. Um, and trying to break that, and that's the funny thing about culture. That's the curious thing about culture is that once it gets into the ecosystem, nobody can control how it formulates. It becomes its own being, sort of like this COVID. So yeah, exactly. Our the strong woman, right? Like once that once that pops up, there's no real way to control or contain it, because it's in the ecosystem and it's in the environment. So based off of that, you can have 10 people that run with it and build off of it. Even with before I get to the other two examples, as far as media and then what we're seeing in this space, another thing that comes to mind is Rorschach in Watchmen, right?
Oh boy.
Connecting, yeah, like what happened with his booklet when it got into a particular subgroup's hands after his interaction with Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan ended up developing into a white nationalist, white supremacist group fighting for basically fighting against refundations, right? And it's like, did Rorschach really intend for that to, develop into, said subgroup? Nobody knows the answer. But what we do know is that in that writing, understanding human nature and understanding that because you don't control how people are going to react, it literally can be taken any which way, and it extends outside of what we see here today on a cultural standpoint, but even from a religious standpoint, how many people have used doctrine for the sake of pushing forward a cause or a narrative? Like the book was written and intended in a particular way, but the interpretation and how it's used, the actual author has no control of. And even in the media aspect, right? Going back to the media aspect, right? There's a movie that's coming out with Lakeith Stanfield and I think it's Michael Kaluuya.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Black Messiah and Judas, where they talk
Yeah.
about, I think it was Fred Hampton. It was Fred Hampton or either Bobby Seale or Fred Hampton, where they talk about the Black Panther Party, but the perspective or narrative is based off of a provocateur that's working for the government to dismantle said institution because it goes against the actual society at large or the majority's intention or direction that they want to go with it. And how they're bringing it to the forefront now, but there's always a reason why they're bringing it to the forefront, which can be discussed at length, and there's other commentators who can speak about that nuance. But the overarching theme is that us as a community and us as a collective, we have these people, and for better or for worse, whether they think that they're good intentioned or they think that they're on the correct side of the bill, um, they cause a detriment within the community, and we're the ones to inherit it. And because we're the ones to inherit it, nobody is able to sit back and check the previous generation, because we weren't there to tell them like, hey, like that your idea didn't work, or the people who are detractors, your idea did work. So now let's look out for the ones who are in our space now who are playing the said role, which leads me to what I noticed in this space this week. So there was a conversation, or there was an expose that was done on a particular individual that's basically causing, shaking up the manosphere at large, and being a detractor and being an agent provocateur. Um, it was I think it was Jessica X. Shout out to Jessica X, who actually made a piece on it, where there was this one random woman that was popping up and trying to trigger basically trying to trigger black men and mislead black women down a particular path of destruction in which we've already faced and already we've already discussed ad nauseum. You know, it was the same old trope. You know, brother Seven. So it was, you know, black men ain't ish, and you know, they're the reason why us as black women are of detriment, and there's no reason for us to be married to these black women or be married to these black men, and they're the reason why we're obese because of body shaming and body image. And as she proceeded to basically say all of these epithets out her mouth, um you know, Jessica was letting her talk, and I was on the panel for a little bit before calling her on her BS. But eventually, somebody in the comments or somebody in the chat actually called it out. And shout out to everybody that's in the chat as well, because something that I noticed people like to do, especially these detractors that like to pop up, they like to say, "Oh, well, you know, it's the chat. You know, it's just all these lame dudes in the chat. You know, just basically trying to pick out these quote unquote soft targets, or they try to treat brothers that are in the clouds that are listening, or brothers that are, you know, adding their commentary. They try to treat them like man nuts. They try to treat the chat like this whole body of, you know, entity to be, you know, mishandled and misused and disrespected. And salute brother Charles, salute
Ooh,
our Charles. Oos.
ooh,
And that was something that I noticed happens a lot with a lot of people who come into this space. This is the new model of man not that can be occurring, where they can just generalize and say, "Oh, all these niggas in the chat are just doing all of this, you know, whoop de whoop whoop, and they ain't high value men, and they just, you know, a whole bunch of incels." And it's like, and I called her out on it too. I was like, "Look, as much stuff as much as you are bumping your gums about how the quote unquote people in the chat, just like the quote unquote myth of the black dude, of the black rapist, as we seen with the man nine Dr. Curry, as we talked about, as much as you're trying to apply quote unquote pressure to them, we can apply the same to you. Like, nobody can really verify. This is something that I said to her. I was like, we can as much as you try to call us out, we can call you out as well, because we don't know you from Adam. Like, you can make up a whole bunch of salacious stuff and nobody can really verify it because we're online. And lo and behold, folks in the chat were like, "Oh, we remember you. You were on Obsidian's channel," or, "Oh, you were on Kevin Samuel's channel," or, "Oh, you were on Angry." Like, I noticed, I was like, "Yeah, she was on Angry Man's channel, and she went under a different name. She had 5 different stories, and all of it all premised under how black men weren't ish, and how black women need to basically separate themselves. And in one instance, she was a spinster, and then on the other breath, she was a swirler, where she was just like, yeah, you don't need to deal with these brothers and all this other stuff, basically spitting out all these gynocratic talking points. And this is what happens when brothers are on point. You're able to call out the BS because you've studied, you've read your materials. Like, oh, like, I already know which way you trying to go with it, you know. And I've seen you getting broke down a million times by other content creators, and the literature that we're reading informs me that this is expected, because, you know, the people of the past, our groups of the past, have dealt with detractors and dealt with provocateurs. So we already know what your role is. So now let's just figure out what it is you know what it is you really about. And it just turns out that, you know, Jessica X was one to pin the tail on the donkey on this particular detractor, but there's many of them out there that I'm pretty sure they don't want to see brothers winning. And that's like the perfect case study of what the man not is in real flesh form. You'll have these, you know, you'll have these strags, you'll have these maggles who will hop on these panels to, you know, say all of these things in the name of productivity, or in the name of, you know, comparing yourself essentially to this white, you know, this white entity as the baseline, which is what they're doing, and
Mhm.
what Dr. Curry talks about in the book in order to disparage, the brothers. But we got AB Media on here. Oos, welcome to the dojo. Go ahead and give us your commentary, bro.
Yeah, I didn't watch the that particular video. I watch Jessica X every now and then because she has some pretty good content, but I didn't watch this particular video. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised though that she would call her out. She seems like a genuine person.
Yeah, man. It seems like it seems like it like the narrative of brothers ain't ish is I mean that's an ongoing thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like BGS said earlier. That's kind of old news right now.
Yeah, as you can see, we got the perfect GIF. Got the perfect GIF. We have a topic, right? And it's like, oh, your marks, get set.
Yep.
Open the stream. And then it's just everybody starts running their own direction.
Valdez did a screen did a show on Megan Thee Stallion. That dude came out and said that Tory Lanez shot her. And true because of that, one of Chris Brown's concerts got canceled just because she came out. All because of that crap he did with Rihanna, like what, almost 20 years ago now? It resurfaced up again because Megan Thee Stallion, because that dude over there was sitting up on camera lying about how she got shot.
Wait, so they canceled Chris Brown's concert on behalf of the Megan Thee Stallion incident between Tory Lanez?
Yeah.
Wow. That
some goofy stuff. You can't make this stuff up.
I mean, that reinforces. I think that. Well, what are y'all thoughts on that? As far as cancel culture is concerned, it seems like it's geared to black men in a sense.
It's been geared to black men, but it's starting to backfire on
them. How so?
I think it's partially part of the Me Too culture, and what's his name? Harvey Weinstein just went to jail, and some of it's starting to backfire on him now. But but I think cancel culture came out of that Me Too, kind of came with the Me Too when that's going around, and that I'm a little surprised. Well, I'm a little surprised they haven't found it. I take that back. They are going after a black man. They're going after Cuba Gooding Jr. They got like 30 accusers lined up for him somehow.
And it's funny you mention that, because if you think about it, like a lot of the again, going back to Tommy Curry's book about how we're seen as a entity, right? And we're reimagined in whatever narrative fits the time.
Fits the day of the week.
Yeah, it behooves the country to keep us as its permanent underclass and use basically the pinnacle or the top shelf quote unquote class of brothers that represent all black men in entertainment or media or wherever have you, and penalize them as a representation or a symbol, because that's something that I noticed is mentioned a lot in this book, is being a symbol or being a martyr or a scapegoat is consistent. And when it happens to one, that is indicative and it symbolizes the representation of all. So it actually doesn't surprise me that the fact that Megan Thee Stallion making these accusations, these alleged accusations, until it's proven in court, which again, us as black males, we're not even given that courtesy.
Yeah,
right or wrong,
proven innocent.
Right. It's like regardless of what the incident occurred, is just as a black woman going with the narrative of we talking about we as a society need to save black women from this savage man, which is mentioned in the man not as well, right? We
Yep.
need to save them from all savage men. So Chris Brown, although the interaction that you had with Rihanna, it was bi-directional, which wasn't discussed, right? Because you're not allowed to quote unquote hit a woman. And shout out to Dr. Tiesan Johnson mentioning, you know, the levels of intimate partner violence being bi-directional, because there's this stigma and this double standard, especially on top of you not only being a male but a black male, that you don't get that luxury. We're gonna resurface that, grab that, and have that perpetually impacts you for the rest of your career. Because again, you as a man, not you are permanently smeared and you have a permanent black mark, which is why, to your point, Al, that as far as us as brothers being like basically on basically walking on eggshells as you're moving through
Pretty
this
much.
society, you wonder why you have a mass exodus. You see this in example right here, because on one breath, you know, they try to lure you in and say that, well, we're here to protect you, we're here to do X, Y, and Z, you know, we got your back. But the minute that you come in, or the minute that you fail, quote unquote, with traps and expectations and designs that we've contracted, which isn't mentioned, then you're immediately admonished and you have a permanent black mark on your record, no matter whether or not you're innocent, whether or not it was mutual, whether or not there was some sort of nuance. All of that nuance is removed. It goes back to matter of fact, man, which page was that? It was with Stokely Carmichael, right? It was with Stokely Carmichael, where they talked about basically all with Stokely Carmichael, and it was with James Baldwin, and it was with some of the other it was Soul on Ice. I forgot the brother's name. When I find it, I'll bring it up again. But basically, his experience as far as racism, white supremacy, all of the external factors, all of that is removed from you as a black male in your history, because it again, your role here is to be a permanent underclass, and it's to be this man,
permanent
not
doormat.
yeah, I mean, doormat, martyr, symbol, anything in regards to exploitation, that is your role. And the way that is designed intricately is to allow you to basically be stuck in this perpetual trick bag. So, Brother Seven, what's your thoughts on what's your thoughts on AB Media's comment and what he said?
I think about this quote in particular, and I'm going to pull it up on screen here from the actual book, The Man Not. For those who have it, can you see the screen? I'm going to blow it up. So this is page 53 for those who are looking on screen. I'm pretty sure that will be around 54 via book. Welcome back, AB Media.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
So now, what I'm thinking about in particular, right, is this little quote right here. As you guys are speaking, and you're pretty much alluding to this particular quote, right? That black males were thought of as a thing, right, to be ruled. No matter what,
I've
that
been called that a couple times.
we are looked at as something to be monitored, right? Something to be reprimanded at will, without any investigation. And what's very unsettling in discussing Megan Thee Stallion's talking points, right? When she had her, I guess, confession, if you will, there was still a lot of holes in it. And I noticed
that's an understatement.
The greater audience that watched that, they were like, oh, if anyone's going against Megan Thee Stallion, they deserve to be insert any punishment, right? And what was very eerie to me was the manner in which she kept reiterating that she saved him, right? That she saved him from being punished or from seeing a darker fate, and that she should have never saved him. Like she just kept reiterating that she's saving him. So there's a high, you can see the delusion in
Yeah.
the quote unquote confession that she was in control, though she was wounded, right? She's wounded, though she's still in control. You're wounded and injured in both feet. You can barely do anything to defend yourself, but you still have the absolute control over the next person's life, right? As opposed to, and I noticed the slip in of police brutality that she tried to throw in there. Like, oh, I was scared, and they're out here killing people. You're an artist that doesn't live in those neighborhoods that are dealing with certain issues like that. You're far removed from the regular day-to-day that the average Joe or average Jane has to go through with police brutality. Right. And not only that, you were 5 minutes away from home. And if you were 5 minutes away from home and the incident occurred in a neighborhood, an upscale neighborhood, it would make me think, right? And any of you brothers could correct me if I'm wrong, that you're in an area that doesn't deal with police brutality like that. Am I wrong?
No, they was coming from Kylie Jenner's house. What does that tell you?
So I thought that was
apparently that was what it was over because Tory Lanez was flirting with Kylie Jenner.
See, and as far as the nature of the way that relationship occurred, to me, that's neither here nor there. I'm very adamant, as you brothers know, about language, and I tend to pay attention to what's been said versus what everyone was said. Especially diving into the. So she stated that there were four people, right? 4 parties in the vehicle. His security himself, who was in the back seat next to her friend, right? And she's in the front seat. She leaves the vehicle, and as she leaves the vehicle, because all 4 parties were arguing, he rolls down the window and opens fire on her, right? With her back turned.
Footage says otherwise, but keep going.
Right? Yeah, that I'm really breaking it down word for word. So by that time, you left the car, he opened fire at you, and you're wounded, right? Your back is turned. And then fast forward, you say that the cops come and they tell you to get out of the car, and you were scared because black people are dying left and right. They're killing us, right? If you got out of the car in the middle of the argument, as she painted it as if the argument happened before the cops even arrived, but then you're saying the cops are telling you to get out of the vehicle. I'm thinking there's a missing piece of that story, because if you were just shot in both of your feet, why would you get back in the vehicle of the person who shot you? For the police to come, and then we seen the footage. Right?
She got out of the back seat.
Like multiple angles from the helicopters, like the eye in the sky, from people who were onlookers who were watching, and again, I can't follow the line of logic. There's still a disconnect. As I listen to the story, there's like a huge bridge that is missing to even pair the two together. But to the man not expression, right? That we're looked at as we seem to be the ones who, because I know West Coast says it a lot, no one's above reproach, right? But when black men are the centerpiece of these situations, or situations of this caliber, there isn't really enough investigation done to completely get the full story. There's always like the feelings and the shock value and oh my goodness, especially since they're celebrities that we're talking about, right? And how it's tied into this particular piece of literature, right? Going back to the the white supremacists being those who save, right? They save women, they save sacred or preserve sacred womanhood from the savage black male. And in this light, Tory Lanez is being painted as the savage black male on site, right? But don't take my word for it. I would like to know what you brothers think about my observation.
Good observation. Yeah. Before I even watched the video, something in the back of my head told me she was lying about being in that front seat. I don't know what it was. I'm like, wait a minute, something don't sound right there. Because she got shot in her foot. And they were in an SUV, and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. That would mean you have to reach over that seat, and anybody that's ever fired a gun knows that thing can ricochet and backfire on you easily. Like, something don't sound right. Then I saw the footage, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. She got out of the back seat.
And you know,
Right.
right, because and another piece that I wanted to touch on, right? If she was in the front seat and you leave the vehicle and the person rolls down the window and is opening fire, and your friend is supposed to be in the back seat, and this is supposed to be your friend, why didn't she contest Tory Lanez while he opened fire? I mean, sure.
According to him, she was beating him up.
Wow.
Which is a whole nother thing. Apparently, he's only 120 pounds, very on like 5'2" or something. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he's a little dude.
And
it's a little dude, man.
and Megan's 5'10", taller than me, and 100, like almost 200 pounds, 180 or something.
And you know,
and let me be fair. This is not a height thing. I know women that are 5'10", and they look like real women, and they can be and they're sweet. They vary from sweet to have bad attitude. But I know tall woman. It ain't about her being taller than me, but that's a dude to me. It looks like a dude to me. There's a difference between a tall woman and a dude.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, because Dr. Tiesan Johnson actually mentioned, we got BMT stopping through. Oos. Dr. Tiesan Johnson actually covered this, him and BGS, as far as the type of predatory feminine archetypes that are prevalent in our community. And I think that this particular instance, what would you brothers think? Do you think that Megan falls under this category of everybody has abused me and you will too? I'll make sure of it. Because there was a stream that I caught between Megan, where she went live on Instagram, and a conversation with her fans talking about how she used to get violent with her old boyfriend, right? She has a history.
She got arrested for it.
And she got arrested for it, right? So there's a history of violence that she has on her record. Now, the point, the real point that we're trying to get at, right? It's bigger than whether or not Tory Lanez actually shot Megan Thee Stallion, but it's the theoretical and ideological argument about black males being perpetual aggressors towards black women. Predators, aggressors, people, men who are just inherently violent and that want to beat their woman, right? And the narrative, the narrative typically goes that, no matter what, it's always the man's fault, and something in his nature biologically drives him to attack black women, and he's the man that just needs to be taken under control. But the woman is never put into accountability, especially when we talk about bidirectional. We talk about bidirectional abuse or bidirectional violence. And so the reason why I bring up this particular archetype, and again, shout out to Dr. Tiesan Johnson and BGS, I think that she falls under this category in the sense of weaponizes abuse to suit her interest, right? Uses it to avoid self-accountability. I think that it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to suggest that she may fall under this category in the language that she was using, right? I did
Mhm.
matter of fact, that and a mixture of the long suffering mother, right? I did the best that I could, right? So
Yep.
basically putting guilt one, so it's a two-way attack. It's one where it's well, I was protecting Tory under all of this, under all of this nonsense or whatever, right? Because Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter. But look what he did, right? Basically putting all guilt and putting all shame on him on one breath, and then on the same breath going to the abused victim, adding extras and saying like, yeah, he abused me, and because he
Mhm.
abused me, this is bigger, like this is a bigger narrative, this is a bigger conversation that needs to be had about all Black men and how all Black men aren't ish, right? And then this is how you connect who else has abused Black women, right? Oh, Chris Brown. All right, Chris Brown, even though like that whole settlement and that whole suit has been settled and that's been years ago, this still is gonna affect you. Do you know why? Because all of the nuance and everything that came with your actual situation, that's removed, right? All sympathy and um all pain is garnered towards the woman, and it's a perpetual thing. Like I'm pretty sure I wonder what Rihanna's take is on that, in regards to Chris Brown having these basically having a eternal chain or a eternal noose on his neck to her. And I know that there was a segment in Oprah where she actually
You need to
forgave
mind
him
her,
and was talking
mind
about
her
getting
dance. Mhm. Go ahead. I'm
right.
sorry.
So and the thing is, when we talk about when Dr. Tia Sign and others bring up intimate partner violence being bi-directional, it destroys that narrative. You know what I'm saying? It destroys that narrative. And even in the Duluth model, we haven't even gotten to the Duluth model, but going back to what the sister was saying in the book about the black macho and the suit and the myth of the black superwoman, saying that all of these were based off of anecdotal evidence, but that anecdotal evidence is applied across the board as a pathology and a theory, right? Eat that sin, Tory.
Mhm.
Oh man,
Hilarious. Hilarious.
continue, West Coast, continue.
Yeah, but this is a perfect case study of what we talk about here in the dojo when breaking down the man nine. These are the cliff notes where you can actually observe it in real life, where it's like, oh, this like what he's saying isn't applicable because when she wrote the myth of the black macho, basically the black macho and the myth of the black superwoman, all of that stuff was back in the day. It's like, no, you're seeing this in real life. She's the
Mhm.
she's the black superwoman that did the best that she could to protect her quote unquote savage male from big bad white supremacy, but at the same token she needs to be saved because she's being perpetually victimized by him, although you have a history of firing on your counterparts whenever
Mhm.
there's a dispute. All of that is removed. So I could be crazy. What's your brother's thoughts on that?
Oh, that sounds about right. I can't believe that she let a tape get out. Well, she's not that bright, but I can't believe she let a tape get out about her abusing her previous boyfriends or whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is, she was honest. That's the thing. There's
Mhm.
there's a conflict. The thing is, there's a conflict of interest when you speak about um when you speak from your actual experience. There's a conflict of interest and barrier between what societal norm has established and
Mhm.
what your actual experience may hide, because it will interrupt and it'll disrupt business as usual, because there's dollars and there's financial incentive tied to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if they take this story, right? They connect it. I'm talking about, certain political parties connect and pick up the story and connect this and use this as a narrative and a talking point to try to shame black men to vote for their side. I don't know.
Yeah. Ooh, well,
You
no
know,
comment.
because
I'm
everything,
trying to I'm trying to
because
keep my composure. They can still go fuck themselves. But go ahead.
because listen, man, if we understand how this society works and the intricacies of it works, everything is free game. So
Yep.
all story there's no such thing as a bad story. There is no such thing as bad publicity. So um I mean, yeah, I'm a shove it right there, and I'm gonna let the brothers dissect it, and I want to get you guys' opinion on that in regards to in regards to how this moment can be spun and not only reinforce what we've talked about here in the Man Night, but how it can impact us in a future sense as far as us as a collective, because we are one body according to said society. And if you want to come in again, this is an open discussion. Hit the link,
Mm-hmm.
hit the link, jump in, and let's break bread, because I want to hear brothers' perspective on this. We are not a monolith.
Oh, you hit on the nail. I'm quite sure that if the Democrats could find a way, they would exploit it
Absolutely. And
without question. Look at how many times they mentioned George Floyd during the convention.
and it's interesting, right? How they will continue to use us, right, or men that have already fallen
Yep.
to this said system, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get us to try to wean us or get us in line, lead us like they want to play the shepherds
It ain't
who
working,
get.
but
You're right, it's not working, but they try desperately to they
mm-hmm.
struggle with the shepherding of black men, and if you do not adhere to what they're putting down, right, there's real life consequences. So I wanted to pull up my screen again and think and pretty much go back to the book, right, about what this makes me think about. And even though this is not in particularly in regards to, you know, this is aimed towards, I'm going to start here, where it's like he had no history, no trauma, no socialization or oppression, right? That could make him such. He emerges from history as a black phallic negativity, right? So off rip, even when we don't adhere to it, they'll still try to figure out a way to put us in either of these boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. They'll look for the history. They'll go back in time to when we were 7 and we took that cabbage, right? To justify why they kill us on display, right? With video footage, blood and all, or watching us, our eyes roll back. They're like, oh, I remember when he stole that cabbage when he was 7, or he took that apple. So
Yep.
we deserve to pass. And it's like, oh, then if they can't figure it out here, they try to mix these two, right? The trauma and the history. Well, maybe there's something that happened to him, and this is why. No, they use the trauma for the person that's actually doing the deed, right? Doing the dirt. Oh, this person, the reason we need to figure out what's going on with him and why did he think it was okay to put his knee on this man's neck for almost 9 minutes. Maybe there's some trauma going on, and maybe we need to figure out and get him some help. We look for the ways to forgive him, right? So to use the history
George Zimmerman, I feared for my life. He had
right
and an iced tea on him. Okay, that's not funny,
right.
but still.
Right. So it's as if they constantly they use history on us to justify why it is okay to kill us, but then they use the trauma on the murderers, right? Or the linchpins in this whole scheme to get them a way out, right? Or get out of jail free card, if you will. And to your point, West Coast, it is something that is very disgusting, and combating it, right? Or talking, at least having this conversation so that we can potentially mobilize and combat it. Because again, we're next up. The millennials are next up. I know a lot of people hold their breath with the millennial generation, and they're looking to the Z's, because the Z's really have like this zero tolerance policy, and some of the millennials, You know, where we would be considered the outliers because majority of them are still stuck on these frivolous conversations about the obsession with the black male phallus, aka dick policing, and
Yep.
they're fighting over game and who's the top host in the manosphere, right? They want to be able to service. I call it the host club, right?
Yeah, I don't watch when I'm not watching somebody like you guys or Valdez or BGS. I'm trying to learn something, man. I don't have time to watch goofy Negroes.
Hey, watch this. Shot. Hey, artisan. Exactly. Uno player reverse justification. Listen, man. Look, so listen. This is the play. This is matter of fact, as an analyst, from an analyst perspective, this is what I project, right? So you got the George Floyd piece, right? Just looking at this from a black pill perspective, you got the George Floyd piece where you're able to exploit the black male body and his death as a point of sympathy, but that raises too much suspicion and causes too much of an upheaval as far as the brothers coming out and actually speaking up against BLM. Now you got Tory Lanez as the reverse. Boom. So now it's like, yeah, the black men are victims, but at the same time, they have their woes and they need to get their ish together because they are still savage at the end of the day. Look at what they did to this poor woman. This talking completely in narrative form here, not talking about any type of nuance to what we just established, but this is the conversation and this is the thought process. Oh, look at what this black man did to this black woman. He's such a savage, even though said counterpart had a song saying I'm a savage. It's neither here nor there. Society, listen, fam. This is why breaking down this literature is important, because something that I recognize is that the society leaves no stone unturned, fam. Everybody has a role. They need every morsel of this black body in order for usage. In your pain, and your vulnerability, and your triumph, and your good and your bad time, no matter who you are. And in fact,
even in your death.
In your death, in your life, and everything in between. And everybody in every place has their role. Every single one of you, including those who are riding for, including those who we are saying that we're promoting, talking about BLM, right? We're gonna have a quick, observation and quick scope. Their identity and their whole premise is based off of the black body, but it's also about the destruction and the decentering of black males as well as the black family, right? Even in that nuance and even in that trick bag for the brothers and for the brothers and the sisters who are deciding on alternative lifestyles, right? The society, they leave no crumb, they leave no morsel on the table. Going back to page 76 on the Man Not, where where it's discussed in the excerpt of Wallace in regards to the black macho mythology, right? Because that's the model that we're using here. Page 78, where it's like we're gonna skip the part about sexual orientation in regards to who smashes who. What's going on, Gold Professor? Oos. Yeah, so we're gonna go back to page 78 on this piece where it's like black men as culturally and cyclically committed to the black macho mythology. Black men in both their heterosexual and homosexual varieties are anti-black woman because she is the one who does not get fucked. So fam, those who are choosing these alternative lifestyles and I want to promote it, understand that, nobody misses the trick. This trick bag is not, everybody gets his work. the same energy is kept on everybody. So when you play this divisive role of having this attack on heterosexual black males saying like, oh yeah, you're this, and you attack us who have a particular alternative lifestyle and you're the problem, understand you have become another attack dog that has been added to the mix. But as soon as they get what they need out of you, you're going to get thrown in the same pile that you're trying to bark us into. Because again, black men in both their heterosexual and homosexual variety are anti-black woman because she is the only one who does not get fucked. And this is based off of, Michelle Wallace's The Black Macho and the myth of the Black Superwoman. I'm gonna drop this link one more time, man, because I know that there's been some brothers who have been following and chiming in on the Man Nodding and listening in. Feel free to join in, hit the link. Give us your perspective. Right now, we're talking about what basically we're the narrative and the discussion is formulated off of the Man Not in relation to what's happening currently in media with the whole Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion situation, and connecting it with Chris Brown, who apparently got a concert canceled based off of again this Man Not narrative of all black men, no matter what situation. If you've ever touched or abused a black woman, you are on the chopping block. So come on down and basically continue this perpetual suffering. This is where it's formulated. But if you want to touch on another piece or if you want to add to it, feel free. The link is there. But yeah, man, that again, that when you delve into the meat of it, right, and you have folks who are trying to divvy or separate and say, yeah, I'm not a part of this class of black male, and we're the ones that are better somehow, because these niggas,
we're not Pookie, we and Ray Ray.
We're not Pookie and Ray Ray. Exactly.
Look at the GIF. Look at the GIF. Looking in the mirror, you see that little white man inside of you, and you run away from the truth. You run to get the blankets and cover your head, right?
Yes, he said on now. The first white man you gotta kill is the one inside of you.
You look at how the brother runs when you see him. He turns. He looks in the mirror. He's like,
yeah. First thing he saw was a look at the photo on the side, though. So it's a look at the picture of the. He said, "Save me, white woman, save me." Oh, we got Artisan. Oos.
Hold on.
What's up, fellas?
Honorary mention.
What's good?
Welcome to the dojo. Oos. Honorary mention. Big DC.
What's that? DC? Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, closing up, getting this paper put away.
Okay.
Had to deal with all that. Y'all hitting on some good points on this. You kept dropping the link, so I thought that was an invitation. So decided to go ahead, bow in, and drop my 2 cents on this shit. Kicked off the holy socks. Just
Indeed. Hey, man.
So yeah, Coach, you actually really did hit on something that I was thinking about from this whole Megan shit, which really crystallized all this shit, because this week I was missing a lot of streams this week, but I was hearing things here and there about what was going on, because I'm focusing on work and I'm not, taking in a bunch of media at that time. And it's like, what is this? I'm always asking the question, why? What is this going towards? What is the gain in this situation? Why is it even beneficial, right? All this shit back and forth, and you hit on it. This shit is just a shutdown method to shut down black men, because if you watched Dennis Sperling's video, he actually put it out there about how this election can be turned, and it can be turned. The election is basically decided on black men. He said it. He put it out there. Yeah, the election is going to be decided upon black men and where they decide to go and where they decide to cast their vote. And he said it was like just 17 or 20% of them will decide this whole election, depending on where they throw their stuff, because you already know what camps are going where anyway. So it's like this whole thing with Megan turning around and saying that dumb shit. Angry Man just broke it down pretty good. It's like, shit, she had the gun in her purse. I said, yeah, that makes the most sense. That she had a pistol. To get shot in the foot and not lose your damn foot or have it broken means it was a small caliber. And what man walks around with a small caliber weapon when he got a security guard in the back seat? Yep, he don't. He don't carry a gun because he got security. But you know who would carry a gun with her? The bitch rolling with her girlfriend. who from Southside Texas and shit. I said that wild bitch probably did get shot with her own gun in the purse, and that'd be the only reason why to say, oh, it was argument, a fight, and try to cover his ass because you're covering your ass. You ain't covering his. You covering yours. You covering your career.
Yep,
is what happened. You covering your career, and that's why when you saw the way the tea leaves was falling, and it looked like you were going to escape some judgment and some punishment, you threw his ass under the bus to further run away from the bear that was chasing you. Like, this shit don't add up. Like, so that was just a drop kick or a little trip, just so you can keep shaming black men into a corner. So when it comes around this election time, well, if you don't do this, you supporting all these brothers who we don't like anymore, and you're gonna get counseled just like them. So you better get on board with us. Like, man, fuck y'all.
You touch on a good point, because isn't there like a small movement of quote unquote pookies called conservative thugs that are like leaning towards dealing with the red side?
I believe it.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard about it, but I would not buy between SYSBM, all this stuff that's been happening this year and the tail end of last year with men in general and black men, and this exposure, the last thing being the exposure of BLM, how they propped themselves up and trampolined off another dead black man's body into some kind of political position and stuff like that.
Back away from them.
Everybody is really looking at all of this, black women rock bullshit and all this other stuff. Is like, these people ain't on the up and up, and I'm not supporting them. So they need something to bring people back to the fold, and this serves as a perfect indication to do that. It's a perfect way, a perfect vehicle to get people shaming black men and not listening to their ass right now when they're saying these women don't speak for us; they speak for themselves. This is a way to shame black men back into that corner and get other people to look at them like, yeah, maybe we don't need to be listening to these black men. Maybe they are, super predators and really aggressive, and we need to be protecting them from black women. Because that sounds like one slave trying to barter for position with the slave master so they don't get the whip. It's not me, it's him. I tried to protect him, but he still took them damn biscuits. He still took them damn biscuits, but I'm the good one. Man, shut the fuck up.
I'm the good one, Master. I'll vote for Master Biden.
Yeah, I'll vote
for Master Biden.
If you whoop him, he'll get on board too. Oh, hell no.
Artist, and it goes back to your reference of Animal Farm, right? The pigs wanting to be overseers of the animals on the farm.
Want to be with Master. Want to be with the rest of the farmers in the house.
It's an interesting segue to Gold Professor's point, right? He said, man, I don't even follow all of that. It's just something about a woman who refers to herself as a stallion. So it's
that's already fucked up.
Hey, you ever seen a stallion walk on two legs?
No, but I know from the West Coast, we used to call chicks. Yeah, I know on the West Coast in Cali, back in the 90s, we used to call really fine chicks a 9 or a 10 as a stallion. That was a stallion. She looked fine, but that ain't what this chick is. That is not what she is. We stopped using that word, and I don't know why she picked it back up, or he picked it back up, or whatever the fuck this thing is with the man hands. But that ain't fine, and that ain't nothing that I would call a stallion. No, that is not a thoroughbred chick. No. Clydesdale, maybe, not a thoroughbred.
because when you brought up Animal Farm, I had to go back and revisit the story. I was like, man, it's like at the end, it's like the pig's trying to walk on two legs. It's funny. You got somebody trying to refer to themselves as a stallion trying to walk on two legs now, the cycle continues.
I realize the stallion has a dick and balls and can produce heirs. Stallion more valuable. In horse terms, stallion more valuable because they produce a better breed of fucking horse. But stallions got big dicks and they get to fuck all the chicks. So is that what you're saying?
Especially the timing.
Speculation about her being a man or cross-dressing or whatever, and I already got a video of your balls hanging loose.
Yep.
With a big engine. Come on, man. Come on, man. What you trying to say for real? Just be honest with me. It's 2020.
Questions that need answers. Big
I
facts,
don't
man.
even know if I want
And
the answer. Just stop lying.
look,
I don't think she's bright enough to do that.
it's like the thing that gets me, man, with when you realize how much when you realize that the amount of nuance that they take and making sure that every single subsect of black males are like basically identified and making sure that they can be taken advantage of. It's like, dog, it's a worldwide pookie. It don't matter who you are. You know, you could be Tory
You always
Lanez.
fit the description.
You always fit the description. It's a worldwide pookie, fam. You could be Bill Cosby, Chris Brown, who else? Tory Lanez, add him to the Hall of Fame of worldwide pookie. Cuba Gooding Jr.
Mm-hmm.
You are officially, like, it don't matter
Cuba.
who you are or what you've done.
Yeah, he got like 30
Cuba.
accusers trying to get. Yeah, he got like 30 accusers trying.
That house Negro, please.
Yep.
Man,
that's fucked up because he's been tap dancing for a long time, and now they're trying to hit him.
They still trying to go after him.
Who? Come on, man.
Apparently, a bunch of white chicks.
Any black man or any kind of prominence, they just trying to rip him down.
Hey, man, you know, his feet got tired and he turned into Pookie Gooden Jr. You know, it's a wrap. It don't matter who you are, man.
Broke a week, so just like, well, you know what they do to coons once they're done with them, they
slide right back to the man not sector, sir.
Yep, they break them.
You got Pookie Cosby, Pookie Kelly. Pookie Brown, Parquet, Parquet, Pookie Gooden Jr. You know, it don't matter who you are or what station, no matter where you are or what station that you're at, you are a perpetual, man not. It doesn't matter where you are, what accolades that you've done, you're going to slide back into said station, and there is a narrative and there is a talking point right there for you. No matter what you are or what you've done.
It just means that they always wait to pull that fucking card on you. That doesn't mean you don't try to achieve what you can achieve, but no, they always gonna try to pull that card on your ass sooner or later. It don't matter if you're shucking and jiving or telling them they can kiss all parts of your ass. Sooner or later, they're gonna try to pull that card on your ass. So you have to be ready for that shit.
Yep.
If Cuba Gooding isn't safe, if fucking Jello Pudding Bill Cosby wasn't safe.
Yeah,
he tried to get all you Negroes to go to college and stuff, and he made the unforgettable sin of telling black women you need to give your kids something better to do than just clothes and dumb shit. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh no,
you must be destroyed. Let's make sure we get these women to speak up on his ass.
Yeah, everybody's chipped up. Everybody is chipped up here, fam. It don't matter who you are. You get and you actually hit the nail on the head, Artisan. Like, once you know that you're chipped, have your exit strategy in place, because at any given moment they will try to press that button with excessive force to shut you down.
Yep.
Bosco.
Bosco, yeah.
What he said? Get that motherfucker.
Get him.
Get him. There you go.
Escape.
Yep. There you go.
He's non-productive now.
Yeah. I see him being masculine and black. Oh my God, sees him.
Oh my God, that's a double damnation, ain't it? Masculine and black.
Yep.
But that's part of this whole thing. The part that you were reading for the man, not about how they don't like masculinity either way. Homosexual or heterosexual will be attacked by the women because they equally an enemy, because that's the goal. The whole goal is just to demasculate men, or black men specifically, in any way that they fucking can. Because trust and believe, this whole transgender shit ain't necessarily about women becoming just men. It's about men accepting men who have turned themselves into women. And the biggest group of these people is not black folks. These are white folks that's doing this shit. This is white folks that want access to these black men, but they can't get black men because black men ain't into all that shit like that. That's why their population of of alternative lifestyle is so fucking small. But because there's enough of them that are loud and want into this group and access to these other men that ain't into that shit, they have to formulate something. They have to get these people on board with this shit. That's why you see such a heated thing with breaking down the black masculine image or black male masculine image and not just masculinity overall. Because white dudes can be gay, transsexual, homosexual, try anything sexual with an animal or whatever all day long. Nobody actually gives a shit, right? They just accept it as being normal. But for black men, oh, that's the holy grail. We got to get these motherfuckers in dresses and bending over and spreading their cheeks and asking for it. And the ones that we don't, you're gonna have to kill them or get them to make them get on board. That's all it is.
You look what they did.
All it is.
Genuine.
Oh fucking hell yeah! That shit with Genuine proves that point too, because all that was about. I talked about this before. All that was about was forcing him to accept something he was absolutely fucking against and shaming him when he didn't accept it, which is the normal fucking reaction. You're not supposed to go along with a man dressed up like a woman, a donkey, or whatever the fuck, grabbing you and forcing himself upon you to make you kiss him. You're not supposed to accept that shit. Not as a woman, and especially not as a man. But because he has the normal reaction, they shamed him about his reaction to try to make him conform and show everybody else this is the appropriate reaction you're supposed to have to this, which is being accepting of this shit. When a man wants to grab you and he looks like a woman, you're supposed to kiss them. Get the fuck out of here. That's assault. Yeah, that's sexual assault.
Yeah,
that's sexual assault. Fuck all that.
This is what they want right here. Watch this gif. She looks very pleased with her work.
Because that's all they want.
Yeah, that's I mean, you said it, Artisan. Like that's literally sexual assault. Because again, you have no rights as a black man. You're not given that right of actually having preference or having a boundary like anybody else. You're not allowed to have that.
Man, not.
Yeah, Rock E. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be answering people in y'all chat, but
no, you good.
But Rock E said something to me. He said, "Damn, Artisan, I agree. These trans act like women too, not telling us they're women and then get popped up after a guy." Well, that's the trick bag, Rock E, because I'm in the Bay Area. So trust and believe, there's a lot of these motherfuckers walking around and they will never tell you they've been anything else but what they presenting themselves as. And if you fall for the banana in the tailpipe and end up back at their house trying to get a banana in your fucking tailpipe and you flip out and try to beat this motherfucker up because it's another man dressed like a woman, they will slap you with so many fucking charges. Them calling you a nigga, anything else will be the least of your concerns. You'd never be able to prove that, but they will have a hate crime on your ass quicker than anything. It's false. That's entrapment more than anything, and putting people in a situation where they can't disagree with what happened because it goes bad on you either way. You find out, you get back to this person's house and find out, unlike "I'ma get you sucker," they pulling off fake titties, fake ass, and all the rest of that. But then they also got a twig and berries hanging down there. You're like, oh, what the fuck? I'm out of here. If you just leave, they can turn around and say you raped them or forced them back or did any old kind of shit. And now you have to deal with that shame and regret you knew this motherfucker was something else when you went back to their house. And they're gonna do that publicly and over the internet. Trust and believe. That's the new guillotine. Right. Or if you have a real male reaction and fight this motherfucker, then you're going down for hate crime and you abusing them. You stuck either way. You stuck either fucking way. It's a fucking trip bag. Wow. And that's why I don't agree with trans. You can be trans, do whatever you want to, but you need to let the people know who you're dealing with. That's what you are. It can't be this halfway shit. I'm not for half measures. If you're gonna be a woman, be a goddamn woman. If you're gonna be a man, be a goddamn man. Don't give me this, well, I just want to dress like it today, but I still want to stand pissed standing up tomorrow. No, motherfucker. That's not how that works. I don't go to unisex bathrooms. I don't want to see somebody in a dress standing up there next to me. Make up your mind. Indecisive motherfucker. That's like being bisexual. Make up your mind. Make a choice. Everybody got to make yours. Greedy ass. Fucking selfish, trying to have it any which way but loose. Oh, that's ugly. But the problem is with that picture, 7, that picture, this is what our BMs look like right now. This is what they're
Unfortunately-
doing their faces and doing their makeup like. This is what they look like. And then the trans are looking more like actual fucking women, which is scary as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that hair and them eyebrows. Do you see anything different from the today dating woman? It's the same shit.
And then they ask you, just like Sojourner Truth, ain't I a woman?
I don't know. Look, I heard a woman say before the easiest way to define a woman falls between two things: her legs. That's how you gonna define it. So if you look down below with that Crocodile Dundee treatment and you holding on to a pump shaft, well, you got a problem.
I'm like you, artists. I gotta see baby pictures now.
Man, I told you. I figured that shit out in my 30s. I need some baby pictures. I need some 10-year-old pictures. I need some. This is my first puberty picture. Something. You know?
Yeah.
Because as you get older, there's no way of knowing. The surgeries get too good, and you'll find out at the wrong goddamn time. I need my bullshit up front. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And it's funny, Gold Professor actually mentioned it. I don't know if you're on the West Coast as well, but he says black men who carry themselves as black men tend to keep an air about them in which homosexuals see it quickly and move away from you. In my experience, and I would agree. I would agree. I think that and again, us as a collective, we're not given that nuance as far as being able to like Artisan said on one breath, like if you get put in a compromised position where you're essentially coerced into a position of vulnerability, but even if that doesn't work, even if you being standoffish or being in your masculine frame, they can still attack you in a certain degree and say, oh, well, you know, why are you acting all what's it called? They try to attach male privilege. That's another thing that they try to attach to is like, why are you exuding this male privilege? And so when you don't have that, when you're not given that nuance, you are stuck between a rock and a hard place, which is why it behooves you as a black male to, have this education and be a thinking black man, because, the further we go into this next century, the more your mind is going to be of value than your actual fish. You have to think of ways to get yourself up out of situations that are going to be even more compromising, because that's the role that they intend for you. Right. The example that you gave, Artisan, I think of when white women, I think of Emmett Till, right? Like this is almost like the modern Emmett Till, where not only can women, like naturally born women, as far as gender is classified, can basically trump up these charges or put you in vulnerable positions, but also those who decide an alternative of lifestyle and changing of sex can do this as well. So both the man and women can basically exploit you from this angle. And if you aren't aware, and if you aren't acute in actually paying attention to that, you can think that you can fall in the trick bag and think that you have certain rights and certain entitlements that other groups have as a citizen, which in a fantasy world or a perfect world, you should have. And I feel you on that, but that's just not the case in what we're dealing with. You need to be able to, maneuver around accordingly, because otherwise than that, you're just going to be sitting in somebody's jail cell, or you're going to be sitting in your house with a whole bunch of regret. Not knowing
in jail, wondering what the fuck happened. Like,
exactly.
How the hell did I get into this situation?
Yeah, I
didn't do shit.
I know. We know, brother, but at the same time, the social norm in the ecosystem, the way that it's designed, you did do something. You were birthed as a black male, and this is your social class. And so this is where this is how you are going to be treated, and this is how you're going to be moved upon. And that's why
we don't like you. Yeah, that's why we don't like you.
Exactly.
Because you won't accept all this shit. This is what we want to do. Why don't you accept it? Because I'm not supposed to. It's like Neo told Agent Smith at the Matrix Revolutions. Why do you persist? Because I choose to, motherfucker, and this is not what I choose to do. That's just what it is.
Why you persist?
Yeah. When you see all this shaming tactics and shit like that, that's exactly what that shit is. It's like, why do you persist? When all this stuff we're throwing against you to try to get you to not want to be masculine, why do you still want to be a masculine black man? Don't you just want to be an effeminate black woman? No. Well, why not? Because I choose to, motherfucker. I choose not to be. How about that?
It's like
yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, I actually have a choice and I can think.
So I have a choice. I'm an actively thinking male, and I chose to no. No, I'm good. Yeah, but you got all these problems as a male. Yeah, but I like pissing standing up, and I never want to be a woman, so I'm good.
Yep. Let the church say amen.
Don't you know women rock and we're strong? Yeah, but I'm stronger. And I rock just as well. So
yeah,
they got all this black girl magic, black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party, and they could rule the Democratic Party by themselves because I ain't gonna help them.
You the backbone, all right, getting it in the ass.
Well,
because every time black men's supposed to get something or black women's supposed to get something, who step in and take that shit from you. Yep. Just like your Me Too platforms and your BLM and all the rest of that shit. Guess who step in and get all the benefits of that shit? You keep helping that bitch and she just keep stepping over you at the last minute to the finish line after you carried her on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. Stupid motherfuckers.
Wait, so
that's good, Keisha. I got it from here.
So, like, as I'm listening to y'all talk, I'm thinking about the last time that the last time that we've actually observed this phenomenon of basically all of this changing of the guards and talking about who's going to get what was when black males were given the opportunity of choice, i.e. the affirmative through affirmative action, right? When black male were given their freedom. And it's funny how, well, let me ask y'all, do you think that this is part 2 of, this is like the second iteration or second version of what affirmative action was back in the day? Because black men actually have choice just due to globalization and the way that the environment is designed, and because they have choice, you see all of these different reactions and everybody hopping up in arms to one, silence and shush us back into the chattel position, but 2, exploit and take advantage of the resources and all of the accolades and actual entitlements that should be afforded to us. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I'm sorry, I was partially had my brain unplugged because I was trying to fix this damn stream. But yes, a lot of the stuff that we are supposed to get has been taken from us. And for me personally, I don't know how people are so blind to this shit. It's probably because they hide a lot of this information behind the written word. Mm-hmm. We all know that black folks.
On top of the fact it's painful, they don't want to deal with
it. Look, pain is life.
Yeah.
Pain is fucking life. You don't get here without no pain. You ain't leaving here without some fucking pain. If you're lucky, you get out of here without feeling no pain. That's just what the fuck it is. You're going to deal with this shit. Stop. I'm not for avoiding a lot of shit that's like in the natural world that you just have to fucking deal with, that proves, one, that you're alive, and one, that you have an ability to change a situation in some kind of way. You just have to deal with this shit. I'm not trying to run from goddamn everything. That's a waste of time, right? So the other thing is you have to learn and educate yourself. You need to know what the fuck is going on around you. Whistling a happy tune and closing your eyes and walking into the street is probably a bad idea to prolong your fucking life. But that's what black folks do every day of the week when they listen to information that tells you, male or female, these white motherfuckers are playing for themselves. They're not playing for you. I don't give a fuck how many parties you went to. I don't give a fuck how much she let you, wear the hair that look like her and tell you y'all girlfriends that she could talk black and learn how to dance and fuck black men just like you do. I don't give a fuck. They're playing for themselves. Every race on this planet or every ethnicity on this planet is playing for themselves, and they plan to win. We're the only ones who got this shit so fucking backwards. We always trying to sell each other out to get something to get in with the other crowd. It makes no
Get that
goddamn
Bosco
sense
butter
at all.
biscuit.
Yeah, it makes no sense in the fucking world. White boys who like hip hop music and all the rest of that shit still fucking hang out with white boys. They don't give a
Yep.
fuck if Saturday they hung out with their homeboys down in the hood. They went back to the rest of the white boys on Sunday in the family
Mhm.
dinner and said, "Yeah, the motherfuckers fucked up down there." You know,
Shout out.
I don't see why we don't get it. I don't see why we don't get that shit.
Mhm.
Sorry to cut you, artist. Then shout out to
No,
Go
no
Professor
worries.
Big Oos. You can continue.
Yeah, but that was my point on that. Is that I would really like to see black folks stop being so. I wouldn't even say gullible, but so in the belief that
Stuck on stupid.
every other culture is better than your own,
Mhm.
and not even culture. Just say your own ethnicity. Stop trying to hurt yourself. Stop trying to cut off your nose to spite your face for
Mhm.
somebody else's approval. Stop looking for their fucking approval. If you look at them close enough, they ain't worth approving of anyway. Why waste your time? Work on, helping your people, people that look like you. And black women doing that shit, look, let them do what the fuck they gonna do. And when they burn the community down with themselves in it, and they burn it up, then what the fuck you gonna say? It's our fault. Look, yeah,
Mhm.
take that on the chin. That's part of your man
Master,
shit, and just keep it going. Yeah, I know it's my fault. Bye.
yeah, but Master Biden's gonna help us get rid of Trump. Trump bad for us.
Oh man, yeah, Trump is an idiot, but y'all voted for that motherfucker, so you get whatever the fuck you get. That's just what it is. Does he get another 4 years? Look, this political game is like this. Make it really easy. It's two fucking teams, and they all eat with each other after the game. So no matter
Yep.
how hard they play, no matter how hard they talk shit to each other on the field, after the game is over, they talk about how dumb the fans were, and they
Yep.
split the money, and they go out to dinner and do it again 4 years from now. Everybody gets 2 times at plate. Everybody gets 2 turns and then they switch. 2 turns and then they switch. It's an old school kickball game. That's all it is. Appeasing the fans. It's like fucking wrestling, dude. These people ain't really enemies. They do that shit for you. It's a puppet show. Let you follow along the narrative, follow along the stories, get into the characters and all the rest of that shit. And when the show's over and the lights go out, they laugh about your asses and count their money.
Mhm.
That's it. And roll on to the next town. So get over that shit. It's just what politics is.
I didn't think of it that way, but they are kayfabing it.
Yeah. Who was it? I think it was I forgot whose administration it was. It was somebody that used to eat steaks with a journalist. The journalist would be on the news and they'd be flaming his ass every fucking day. His policies was fucked up, all the rest of that shit. But after all that shit was over, them same political people, the journalist and the politician, would go out every night and have dinner because they understood it was part of the job. You have to somebody has to throw those arrows, somebody has to have the slings, right?
Mhm.
Somebody is the moving target. So sometimes you hit me, sometimes you're gonna miss. It's my job to make sure you miss, and it's your job to try to make sure you hit me.
Mhm.
That's it. But after that's over, after that lights and cameras off, shit, we can just kick it. Look, we all out here playing the same game. Why do we got to be upset? And that's all this shit was. Because most of the time, that's all it is. So I don't see why people take this shit that far to heart. These motherfuckers ain't trying to do shit for you. Biden ain't trying to do shit for you. Kamala Harris ain't trying to do shit for you, really. The best thing they can do to tell you, the best thing they can do based on what they've already done is tell you, get up on the platform and say, you know what, we really just trying to lock up all these black men. How about that? We're going to make sure they get killed in the streets, and the ones that don't get killed in the streets, we're going to trip up on some other bullshit, and then we're going to have you women to go out there and grab the rest of them that we couldn't get, that was smart enough to stay away from crime and stuff like that. We're going to have you get them too. Just say that shit. Just come out front. I don't like all this subversive bullshit.
Don't worry, you're gonna get it in Biden's next interview. He's gonna come out and say this right here.
Dude, look.
Remember how I told you guys, if you don't vote for me, you're not black? Well, you hate me because I'm black.
How is it that the two people that have said and done the most reprehensible shit to black people in the last, say, 20-something years, that got the most of them locked up and put away on bullshit, is two people from the Democratic Party both have tried to run for the presidency. How is that the case? Because you can tell me, Republicans is racist and there was a ex-Klan member in their ranks and all the rest of that shit. As far as I know, all y'all motherfuckers is racist because you all profited some kind of way. You ain't got rich because it was sweat equity. Get the fuck out of here.
I got a better question. As unpopular as Kamala Harris is, why would they risk losing California?
Because they need that black woman vote because it's all about them right now. I mean, I send pictures.
They sure don't have ours.
Look, I sent pictures to BGS and Dr. Tiasan Johnson after all this BLM riots and stuff was going down. Oakland started painting a shitload of murals up, right? And it wasn't black folks painting these murals; it was all white folks painting these murals. I'm jumping the shark on that part. But here's what they painted in most of these fucking murals: black women with their fist up. That's what's in most of these fucking murals is all black women. It's like Angry Man was saying, it's the misandry taken to another level to completely erase you from all of this shit. You saw it when the riots happened. Everybody else, when they got exposed, everybody else was on to that shit. And that's why all the rest of this other bullshit has been turned into a way to get you away from actually understanding these motherfuckers is not about you. They are not about you. They're not even on the same page as you. They ain't even reading from the same fucking book. The self-hate is so evident. It's not just self-hate, it's outwardly to everybody else too. I hate myself. That's why I won't look like a black woman. I'll try to look like every other woman and wear the yaki and the lace fronts and all the rest of that shit to look like any other woman but a black woman. And then I'll hate this black man too because he wants me to be a black woman. Fuck all that. I hate him because he ain't a white man either. You know? It's like, goddamn. It's like it's kind of blatant. If you pay attention to the shit and don't get into the puppet show part of it and look for the strings, you'll see the shit. It's just theater.
Can't tell some black folks it's like talking to a brick wall.
Well, talking to some people is like talking to a brick fucking wall. So save yourself the trouble.
Yeah. And you know what? Gold Professor actually brings, I mean, we're all basically speaking on the same thing. When he says, I'm an avid student of Mr. Neely Fuller, this means I work towards one problem that has plagued us: racism, white supremacy, right? This is basically, artist, and you broke it down on a political spectrum, on a political sphere, right? As far as human activity is concerned, what this society is built off of is racism, white supremacy. And all we're seeing is just different fingers of it. When you speak about it in a form of politics, you speak about it in a form of economics, you speak about it in a form of how our culture, how they actively attempt to dismantle and keep our culture in this disarray, and when folks get so caught up and strung up on one finger or one branch of it and saying, well, in this subsect, I'm gonna just focus on being this, be of this entity, of this class, because I think that this is better than the other side. It's like, that, like you said, they're literally two sides of the same coin. And so for you to get caught up in the theater or the theatrics of it, you actually lose the bigger point, which is, they are on the same team. And at the end of the day, you have your role, and you basically are putting yourself in position to continue to put our community as a whole in a vulnerable spot. And I caught that stream that Dennis Sperling had presented in regards to black men, in regards to politics and stuff like that. And if that's the case in regards to our vote, then what we're seeing now, as far as from a media perspective, because that's primarily how information is disseminated and shared with us and how it is moved. This is why Cardi B is having conversations with Biden, because that, in their eyes, is our representative, which is a whole nother can of worms. This Megan piece is bigger than this actual incident, and they're gonna continually use this strategy because that's all that they know, or that's what's in their playbook to use to basically tamp us down. And so, back to Dennis Sperling saying, like, you need to be on your P's and Q's and what you decide to do during this time, because it is going to impact the country at large. And contrary to popular belief, as they try to come in and shame you, your voice actually matters, and you are more important than what they try to lead you on to be. Because think about the amount of opposition and the amount of pushback and the amount of energy they use to try to suppress you, like on all angles, internally and externally, within your group and outside of your group, you know. And I just think about foundation. I'm not gonna spoil it, Artisan, but you need to get on that, bro. When you think about when I think about,
man, I know. I've been missing the shit.
man, so it's listening to that has given me really good insight in regards to how politics at large are played out on a bigger scale and on a micro scale too, as far as like different nations and different politics that come with, you know, how you interact and deal with people. And after listening to the Selden plan, it's almost ingenious, and I really think the BGS is the Selden of this space, because
I agree.
this psychohistory, man, this prediction, this math, the math doesn't change. And the reason why I think, or I even know that the math doesn't change, is even in this literature, Tommy Curry just basically just added to the equation and reinforced, like, yeah, this math is all the same. Like, as many references that he pulled from historical documents of where it came from, you can see that math being played out on a day-to-day, on a weekly basis. Like, me and Seven, we cut. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, but basically, it was essentially like the math that we're seeing in the path is being displayed today, and nothing has really changed. It's just the math is the math, and whether or not you will accept it, and whether or not you'll change it. And like old professor said, the 9 areas of human activity, or area of activity. But yeah, go ahead, Artisan.
Oh, I was just gonna say is like the foundation after getting through those first 2 books, I saw a lot of parallels to exactly what's going on now. And I do agree with you. BGS is like the Selden of this shit. I don't know if we want to hang that on, if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because you understand psychohistory is just like the advertising banner, right? Of what is actually being done. But the real work that he was doing with that whole psychohistory stuff, the real stuff is the foundation of this understanding that you cannot control how this shit is going to slide down, but you need to be preparing for afterwards. You need to prepare for the after this shit is falling apart, because you can't stop it from fucking sliding. It's going down the hill, you know, when gasoline draws on. Okay, it's going. It's just going. But you need to position yourself to where you have the knowledge, the skills, and the people together to take this shit and rebuild this after this all falls the fucking apart. It's like, think of it like a shitty ass building, right? It's crickety, it got termite wood, all the rest of that shit. After a point, there's no more patching that shit. You're not gonna patch it up, you're not gonna be bracing it to keep it from going down. Look, let the motherfucker fall, clear off the foundation, and then build anew. That's what you have to do. You can't keep trying to repair this leaky boat. You can't keep trying to prop up this broken fucking building. You can't keep trying to prop up all this broken shit within what we call the Black community right now. You're gonna have to let that shit fall and then rebuild afterwards. And a lot of the stuff that happens in this manosphere space, why so many eyeballs are focused on what such a small group of men actually talk about online on fucking YouTube, is the foundation. Because that touches so many other minds and so many other ears to get people on one accord to where they can actually start rebuilding this shit after it fucking falls. Because look, China is in the lead right now because what? They planned years ahead for being at this point, and they made it early. They didn't just decide to start doing it today. They planned this shit ahead of time. Selden in the books planned this shit ahead of time. So when they gave him that planet, he already knew they were going to give him that planet because he did the legwork ahead of time to know that's the one he wanted. So they weren't giving him shit that he didn't already want. It was already already played out and already planned out through psychohistory, predicting where this shit is going to go, and then get there first, and then let them play their parts. That's all you got to do.
And you know what? Because I don't know where you're. Are you still on the first foundation? Because I can speak to everyone that you're at and build off of it.
I did the first 2 books that were the prequels.
The prequels.
So I'm still on the first one, Forward the Foundation.
Oh, okay. So I haven't even did Forward the Foundation. We'll just keep it on the prelude. We'll just keep it in the prelude, right? So
yeah, keep it in the 2 preludes.
Hey, brothers, I gotta go. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Appreciate you
AB.
stopping by, AB.
Not a problem.
And before I jump into it, we got DC the Code Breaker in here. What's going on, fam? Big Oos. Welcome to the dojo, fam.
What's up, man?
Man, I thought you had a live stream
send you guys. Yeah, we do. But I've been listening, man, and man, I want to, congratulate you guys on starting up your own channel, man. I like the build that y'all doing here, man. Keep it up, man. We need more logical voices in this space, man. This is needed, where real conversation can go on, where there's not any of these other distractions that are going on. Shout out to them other brothers, but if we don't really start to get serious about having serious discussions within our group and handle things and ideologically between us, we're going to be dealt with, outside of us. So it's very much needed to get all perspectives on this, because I'm worried, man. I can't, I guess it's just for me being a DC lifer, being around, seeing the way the government works. I know it intimately. And I'm worried, man. Regardless of who wins, doesn't really matter. It's just the way things are going. We're going to be muted, regardless.
Exactly.
And that's going to be a problem, where there's going to be a situation where there won't be any way for us to actually get heard a step through her, if you know what I mean. That's it. And that's not good.
Talk through her vagina.
And
that's not a good megaphone.
But see, that's what I'm saying. You're still subject to her if that's the case. If the only way to be heard is to go through our female counterpart that feels like she has been able to acquiesce power without our assistance, then we you know what I'm saying? It's going to be an issue. So that's why I'm worried, man. And even the program that we're going to do today, we're going to really take a deep dive at both candidates, but just my black pill perspective, man. Man, we don't get over these ideological differences, man. Black men, man, just the little beefs that we have that ain't this jaw jacking that we do back and forth and fighting over little shit. Even the ones that got it together. Man, we got to decide on what we're gonna do, because the next generation afterwards, man. I mean, it's just, we're not gonna leave them any options. I mean, it's just gonna be like we got pancakes, no cereal. That's it. There ain't no choice. Pancakes. That's what we're serving. Either you eat that or you don't eat it all.
It's gonna be that protein soup that they were serving on Nebuchadnezzar. Make believe it tastes like runny eggs.
Man.
This is food. Eat or don't eat.
I don't care about, man, to run somebody that's as peaceful, logical. And if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Tommy Curry's wife studies black women's fragility. Like, she studies black women. She's a professor, the same as him. He just studies black males, black men, which is needed. Now, if you're going to run a brother like that off, come on, man.
Yeah, that's your black excellence right there.
It's hey.
To me, that's your black excellence, and he had to leave here to actually be able to be heard. Like, damn, you got to get out from under the umbrella, huh?
Correction, that's your black fodder. That's he wasn't supposed to take that. He wasn't supposed to take that role, artisan. You know,
Mm-mm. No, he wasn't.
if it wasn't for that, if he wasn't fitting the bill or in the role of being exploited, then you're automatically the enemy. Like he even said it in his book. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation. That's one thing that they do agree on. They are about equality. You can be
Yeah,
heterosexual, you could be homosexual, you can be
equally as
whatever
north.
you want to be. You know, you you are a
That's
perpetual
funny.
enemy to the black woman. You are naturally anti-black woman in this political sphere, and so
Yeah, there are no men in Mama's house.
no men in
Gay or
mama's
gay.
house.
There's no men in Mama's house. Everybody's a child. Gay or
As a
straight, you still a child.
As a matter of fact, it's like in fact he says this in an excerpt where it's basically we're like gremlins, right? So you come like you turn into this like you're either this boy slash man child, and then you as soon as you're basically as soon as you reach maturity, you turn into this male rapist. And that's how society views you. This is why you have this dichotomy of you being this little boy versus this, this rapist that is out being a savage. And you can look at it from the George Floyd perspective. Man, that's all right. That's a perfect analogy. All right, so think a little Tory Lanez, right? He is the male savage. He is the rapist. He is the attacker. This is his role. This little dude. But then you got George Floyd, who's 6 foot something, 200 and some pounds. This is the little boy who cried out for his mama, because that's the narrative that they use. So those are your two roles, fam. Those are your two roles, champ, in which you're gonna be exploited.
Well,
It
here's the
doesn't.
funny part: before Tory Lanez was allegedly shot that man in the foot, nobody
Alleged.
took him nobody took him serious anyway because he was a little nigga,
E-
right? He's a little dude,
exactly.
so nobody took him serious. He didn't have that banner hanging over himself until he shot one guy in his foot, or one guy allegedly got shot in their foot. Now, oh, he is all
Yo,
this.
look
Like,
at him.
since
Look at him.
when? Yeah, since when?
That's funny.
Hey man, that is
Strike.
your that is your role, fam. This is your role as the man.
Crazy.
Not dog. He popping up. Look,
Man,
you got
y'all
Tori
fucked
in the
up.
back. Man. Oh, but hold on. Let me send off some ooses. We got JR in the building. We got
Oos.
James Kill. Oos, welcome
Ooh,
to the dojo. But yeah, just to keep the flow going. Yeah, so again, your role here, it's been established, and as soon as you break out of line, as soon as you step out of character, you automatically fall into, the enemy camp. And
yeah, they'll
so
try to push you back to where they want you.
exactly. So American society they have defined your role for you. As a matter of fact, it's bigger than American society, because again, we have globalization. We have the global network that is already online and developing. And this is where, the Black Pill brothers, this is where we talk about foundation, right? You talk about things on a bigger scale. Although it's unfortunate that this is our state in which we are being treated and that we're in, the advantage is now we're on a worldwide network. So because you're on a worldwide network, now you can pay attention and see, all right, if what we are moving and how we're being treated in a collective is not advantageous for us, where can we move? Because if I recall correctly, Dr. Curry is in Scotland, right?
Edinburgh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Edinburgh. So, like, although I'm in the West Coast, I got wind of him. And he dropped the man night. He wrote his literature, and I can go through Amazon and order his book, and I can pass that along to my people. It's just like, yo, like the world is our oyster now. Like literally, you can go to
Right.
like you talk about, the talks of SYSBM is on the is on the interpersonal level as far as you dealing with women, but also if you think about it from a business perspective, anywhere that you go while the dollar is still strong, you move over there, you keep and you know that when you bring a woman from outside of the country into this country, knowing how environment works, that she's going to be socialized and basically adopt
Into
these
this
customs.
environment.
So
Exactly.
you're so this is me putting myself in the shoes with all the information that's been presented, right? It's like, all right, if I'm on some SYSBM type stuff and I know that I can't bring them back here because there's gonna be a wrap because I'm already treated like crap and she's gonna end up picking that up. I can move out there to whatever country, pick whatever one you want, save up a little bread. The education level that you've been afforded here or lack of is still better than what is in most other countries. You take that piece of knowledge and you find a little business, you figure out, the local customs and language, you get yourself a little business out there and you got yourself your own little, your own little situation where you're free from the thumb of the gynocracy. You have the information that you need in regards to like passing it on to your brothers, like who may still be in the States. And you still have all the opportunity of the lay of the land because for all intents and purposes, everybody and their mama's still trying to get up out of the United States. And if you've been following geopolitics, like from a dollar perspective, is not doing the best. So why not? I'm not gonna say too much, but brothers connect the dots. Like this is the formings of the foundation here, because a lot of this information isn't gonna be shared on public because it's a conflict of interest, and this is why I say BGS literally is like the Sheldon and just like picking all these pieces together because if you listen and you follow and try if you pay attention and you're reading the tragedy and hopes and you're paying attention on the cultural side as far as the man not and seeing how you're being treated and how the game is being run here, and you're actually following the World Economic Forum and you're seeing the direction that they're being pushed to, you can have yourself a little situation that that they're not going to explicitly tell you. And this is the part where self-reflection comes in, that where you can escape, you can have yourself true freedom. It's just not going to be it's not going to be put out in the forefront because again, that goes against the self-interest of the country that you're in. And I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of brothers in these spaces is we've been so conditioned to like look for symbols, and this is why in the man I've, where they talk about symbols, we've been so conditioned to look for symbols collectively that we expect the actual solution and freedom to come in said form. And this is where being a thinking black man, being on your toes is so critical, because once you get that game and you get that, all right, this is how they trained me and this is how they trained us as a collective. Now I can circumvent and move accordingly and how I need to move, and it starts like again on knowing yourself and knowing your situation with the man nine, but it expands deeper. I don't want to get too like off subject in regards to how these things connect to other things as far as business at the moment. But the first step is knowing what impacts you in the immediate, right? It's yourself, it's your environment, it's your mama, it's your grandmama, it's your aunties, it's your uncles, it's everybody that's around you that, if you've been following along, you could probably make parallels. Like, yeah, like even if my mama or my auntie ain't talked to me in this certain type of manner, I've heard this phrase or this type of talking point be mentioned, or they may have heard that and they're like, yeah, this is actually how it is, because we're in the era of things being subtle. As much as things are being like explicit and overt with like a lot of these militias and stuff like that, primarily a lot of the warfare is still covert. And being a thinking black man now is more important than ever in order to catch those cues, because it's things that they're not talking about, which is what's being discussed here, that's going to impact you the most versus what they're promoting on the actual media. But I'm not going to hog the mic too much. Brother Seventh, DC, Artisan, feel free to chime in. Let me know your thoughts on that.
Well, I would just say you're right in the fact that one of the things I want to see from black people is everything is interconnected with this globalization and whatnot. So everything is out there that you can reach. You can reach a lot more people now through this electronic medium. My problem with black folks a lot of the time is we use it for such baseline fucking shit. I mean, basis shit, arguing about something, who can get what, who has what, who didn't do like that, dude. It's like you got $1 billion satellite system, and all you want to do is stream you cussing at somebody else. Who's an old nigga? Who a young nigga? Who getting some? Who ain't? I said, are you fucking kidding me? You can create whole movements using this same little device, the same little streaming platform, and that's what you want to use it for. Motherfucker, you could have did that with some strings and some cans. You know, it's like, come on, you got to think bigger than that. You know, if you really want to make some kind of changes in this world and see your position going from being at the absolute fucking bottom to at least moving up a rung, you have to use the technology and the tools that you have better for smarter fucking purposes. Yeah, you can gain off of it financially, yeah, but is that everything? Is that everything you want, or are you really trying to help your fucking people? Because I don't think, to use a geek reference, I don't think Starfleet went to every planet just trying to enrich themselves. They're trying to push that for everybody, right? They didn't just go looking for, the next entertainment adventure, the next time to make some money off of these motherfuckers. You're trying to expand the knowledge of a whole society of fucking people. And the only way you do that shit is by putting that out there and having those intelligent conversations. And it's not to say that the unintelligent ones don't exist, but they don't get as much shine as the intelligent ones. You know, there wasn't a bunch of dumbasses riding on the Starship Enterprise. Though that wasn't your communications officer. That wasn't the motherfucker breaking down the languages. It was people who wanted to do that work and learn that shit. They wanted to do it, and that's how you have to look at this shit. For me, the foundation is there. All these books and all these black authors and all the stuff that we are getting interconnected with, even now, with the doctors and stuff coming on these panels and having presences in this YouTube space. That is disseminating information. That is your encyclopedia niggalactica. You need to be reading up on this shit. You need to be talking to people like DC from the Code Breakers. That's why I know that his show was about to go live when he popped up here, because that's on my alerts. That's something to watch, to make sure I watch. Same thing with Dr. Tiasan Johnson when he go live. I have to stop what I'm doing and make sure I'm listening to that stream, because you need to hear that shit live. You need to be getting this information downloaded into your head, and then you need to be disseminating it and downloading it to some other black folks that you know, some other brothers that you know, so everybody can get on this goddamn one accord and understand what the hell is going on, so we can actually make some kind of movement. Because it doesn't have to start all at once, like, okay, everybody line up on the line and now Monolith move forward. But
Right.
you do need to take your individual steps all the time. As long as you're taking your individual steps, they will add up to a monolithic movement if you all take it. Stop worrying about who's going to go first. Just start moving and make sure somebody is coming along with you. It's very fucking simple. To me, at least. I don't have to do all of the shit.
Yeah, man, and to echo what you just said, and thanks. Oh man, he dropped off. Thanks, Artisan, for saying those kind words, brother. Because sometimes for me, I mean, it's I really, I don't do this for the views, the notoriety, not even the money. I'm good. I don't need it for that. I'm really here to try to share and kind of give a little bit of information out to you brothers, man, to kind of at least be able to think about. But it becomes very difficult because there are a couple of things that I see that, like I said, it bothers me, and I don't know if we will have enough time to get past it. And the difficulty is that before we can even have a discussion about our real differences, we got to get past the distractions. And distractions, even with black females, things of that nature. I think that it's cool talking about female nature and how to get women and this and that other, but that's not the most important thing. Women gonna do what they do. They're gonna choose who they choose. It's very little. Literally, there's very, very little that one person can do to change that narrative. No matter how big your microphone is, it doesn't change who she's attracted to. It's an echo. It's an echo chamber. It's an echo box out into the wasteland, bro. It really is. It's very, very difficult to do that. What can change though is brothers' ideas, and I have learned a lot. even from listening to this conversation, BGS, man, me and BGS have went back and forth about a host of things, you know, and I, you know, I thank him because, you know, he remind me of Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon. He really is getting too old for this, and I hate to see the disrespect that's shown to somebody like that, because, you know, he don't ask for much. He don't ask for nothing as far as like, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. He just want to be able to have you, you know, think and then be able to actually get the information that he's trying to disseminate out to us. And then, you know, you make your own decision, you come to your own conclusion, but at least have the information accurate and correct, or know where to go to get the said information. So, I mean, even, you know, to Angry Man, to now I'm not going to say Obsidian, because Obsidian is on something else. But I mean, even with you know how O'Shea used to be, or other brothers, man, SWP. I mean, I go way back, you know, to even listening to them. Thug Titian, man. I mean, way back. Captain Solo. I don't know if you guys even know who Captain Solo is. That used to be a dude. He used to chop it up with Sergeant Willie Pete back in the day, when Manosphere first came around. And it was just a response, and it was just a response to the sisters, man, because the sisters were going ham on the brothers, and, you know, we didn't have any other recourse but to say what we had to say. And, you know, some of it was very harsh, but it needed to be done. But now at this point, I mean, we have enough voices out there that's doing whatever they got to do. But anyway, man, I just wanted to come up here, man, and you know, chop it up with you fellas real quick, man. I'm about to get on with our program. I know Paradox probably like, man, where this Negro at? So I'm pretty late to my own program.
Hey,
Yeah,
much
Don't be
appreciated.
late to your own party.
Nah,
Hey.
man, I appreciate you guys. You know, let me come up and share some of my views, bro.
Hey, much appreciated, DC. Go ahead and type something in the chat so we can mod you up, and you can drop a link to your channel, because I think that a lot of the discussions that you have on your channel are much needed, and I think that you, in your explanation, you said a lot that you said a lot of you shared a lot of information that I think that brothers in this space may not have been privy to, especially when it comes to the development of what the Black Manosphere was as far as 1.0, and like how that got started and how that basically compounded and developed on itself, and how it you know transformed into 2.0, into 3.0, because I remember those days when O'Shea and you know, everybody was kind of all on one accord, and then when everything, you know, kind of fell to pieces, and now it developed into something else. Like, bro, this is all a process. So, like, just taking it basically a model that going to James Kill as far as like how can you help in this space, to address your point, like, bro, being a voice of reason and adding something constructive and checking the BS when it comes up, because now we're in a place where a lot of BS is going to be coming into this space, and there's going to be a whole lot of white noise, literally and figuratively, to try to shake things up. So if you be that voice, you can basically cut through it and be able to allow this space to develop and continue to develop, actually, because I started off just listening in, and, you know, being somebody who was just hopping from panel to panel, just listening about what was being discussed. And then from there, you know, started to introduce myself to folks, and then figuring out how I could contribute. Then me and the seventh Sensei 7th Coast Project, we decided to, you know, move forward with this, and it's literally step by step how this is done. So you look at it from a broad view, but you also don't be so overwhelmed with the overall picture, and realize that it's just one step at a time, one comment at a time, like, because that's all you can really focus on in order to be successful. But DC, we really appreciate you, you know, coming and stopping by in the dojo, man. Much respect.
Much respect to you fellas, man, and keep doing what y'all do, man. And I'll see you guys on the side. We'll probably be on for a while, so if y'all want to stop through, we'll probably open it up, man, and y'all can just come through and chop it up, man. We should have a barn burner, so
right on.
Y'all can come through, man. But appreciate you, good brothers, man. Stay up, bro.
All right, you too. Much respected. All right.
Go on.
In addition to your point, West Coast, it's also brothers who are viewing. You know, we have 1,000 people in the building. That's my optimism showing. I like to speak things into existence. So I add 2 zeros behind the number I see on screen.
10K, that's a hell of a day. You just beat out Samuels.
For the donation boost. You know, we appreciate contributions of any level. You know, whether albeit you come in and you want to jump on the panel and chop it up with us, or if you're in the comment section, make it live. We appreciate all levels of support. And this space, a part of it happening is because of viewers like you. You know, you continue to give us the drive. We feed off of that energy. We look for ways to service you guys by giving you the content that we put out, analyzing the literature, breaking it down, and having a discussion about it, right? Since this channel's, the birth of this channel, I noticed that there was a lot of brothers that didn't have the man knot, right? And as we were from episode 1, it was a lot of powerful things that was happening. A brother coming up saying that we lit the fire under him to go get the book, and openly admitting that he's been dragging his feet, and because of us, he purchased the book and he supported Tommy Curry. And that's kind of what we're trying to push. At the same time as we're breaking down this literature, we want to make sure that you're supporting the literature that we analyze, especially if it's coming from one of our own, right? That way we get the money to circulate in our particular community 7 times before it leaves and goes on the outside, right? And Artistan Oos, thank you for your donation.
No problem. It's not
Big
for talking.
Oos.
It's just because I forgot to do that when I jumped on here because I was actually doing something else in the background. But let me just say, give me 30 seconds and then I'm gonna bounce off of here because I need to go home and actually get some shit done before I got work again tomorrow. This is not my regular day to be here, but it's dark and I got to get out the city because they don't like Negroes around here. So it's time for me to go. But props to what you brothers are doing. I really appreciate you guys having this space and opening up that conversation to have more intellectual conversations, even from a millennial standpoint, because a lot of you guys do get a bad rap, but I see rays of hope in your group. I mean, you two are one of the examples. Art of Fort, maybe sometimes. I don't know. You can tell him I said that shit. I'm just saying. But it's a good thing. And taking on the man knot and actually doing a breakdown of it, that was beneficial because trust between BGS and Angry Man, everybody should have heard about this book already and should have already bought a copy of it. But there was nobody doing a breakdown of it. So that's why I really appreciate that you guys came in and start breaking it down chapter by chapter to show people how this actually is affecting you at this very moment and where it may have affected you a couple years ago or whatever, so they can get an understanding of what it is. Because nowadays what I'm seeing is that the information is out there, but people don't really have somebody to put it into context for them, because when they're reading it just by themselves, they're left to puzzle through what all of this means. And it's helpful to have an open conversation about it to be able to get other point of views so somebody can contextualize what you're seeing and frame it in a way to say, see, this is how this relates to you individually in your everyday life. What your those same feelings that you already think of, that this world is kind of shitting on you in a way, but you don't know why. You just got here. You didn't do anything to anybody. This is why. It's not because it's just you, motherfucker. It's just everything you represent. That masculinity, that blackness, that self-determination, all of that shit rolled up into one. They don't like that shit. They don't actually want it now. So it's beneficial that there's some people actually breaking down this book, but that they're young brothers like yourselves breaking it down, because it means that you are thinking, I would say, at an age you should be thinking about this stuff. You should be thinking about it that seriously and taking it seriously and breaking it down in a serious way and just not passing it off of, yeah, I got the man knot, but I never cracked the book open and start highlighting pages. So that's why I say, yeah, buy the book and read the motherfucker. Don't just put it on the shelf or put it under your coffee table to hold up that broken fucking coffee table you got. Read the damn book. There's information in there that you might not have never read. And Tommy Curry took his time to read through all that shit and condense it down to a book for you. He didn't do it for himself. He did it for you. Because that book had been out years before, I believe, the Manosphere picked it up and started telling people about it. It had been out already. So, yeah, he get paid off of it. He should. He spent his time doing it and his sweat equity into doing it. But read the damn book. Read the damn book and apply what you learn in that book to your fucking life. That's the only way this knowledge is actually beneficial, if you apply it.
Big facts, man. And it's like a lot of our scholars, and that's also a really bad habit that we have in this in our group, is our scholars aren't given the flowers that they deserve when they come to speak out about a lot of these things. And it turns into another form of symbolism, like you said, like buy the book, but actually read the book and actually come and participate and come participate in the discussion. And when we're breaking down each chapter, read through and then listen to our commentary as a different perspective to kind of give you an idea and just add a little twist to it and applying it to your life. Don't get caught up in just, again, I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks that we suffer from, is just it's the symbolism in having things like, yeah, I have this book, or I did this, or I went to the such and such march. Like, that's one of the things that we suffer from, is just saying like we went out and did something, quote unquote, in virtue signal, but not actually broke down what exactly that you've done. And
I've gone to an A's game and wore a jersey, but that didn't mean I was playing on the goddamn field, dude.
Facts.
Just meant I was at the game. That's all it meant.
You know what you turn into? You turn into those folks on Capitol Hill that took that knee with them kente cloths. You do it all for theatrics. I was there for the people.
But in me slide.
But a me slide. Boy. and it's funny now that I think about it, because I've had I've had conversations with certain individuals from back in the day that were a part of certain movements, and one of the things that they said is a lot of those pictures, they took them in the moment, and nobody can really state what the actual context of who all these people were and what they were doing. Like, they could have easily just been passerbys that were just stopping by to get an ice cream, but from hindsight, but basically in retrospect, when you look at it, it's just like, wow, look at all these folks that were marching. But it just could have been a group of folks that just happened to be by the march. And, it looks like everybody was out there voting and doing what they're supposed to do. That photo and all of those symbols that you see with the BLM all throughout the streets, in retrospect, willing that that you're given enough life to see this thing turn out the way that it's going to turn out. The kids of the future generation are going to say, wow, look at all of these murals that were in the street. Look at, the government on Capitol Hill. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, like that's what you're looking at in the making. This is what you're looking at in real life. And this goes back to tactics, and it goes back to the tactics, and it goes back to how they twist in the way that they move things. Like, it's going to go off of symbols alone. And if you don't catch it, and if you don't think about it, you're going to fall for the okie doke. You're going to be one of those old folks who's like, yeah, you young folks aren't doing nothing. I remember back in my day, I was marching at BLM and I wore my kente cloth. And it's like, bro, no, you weren't.
Pulling that Jesse Jackson shit. I marched with King. You ain't did shit that King liked, though, motherfucker. You lived. So I know you wasn't about shit, because everybody that was about something got killed. And you still here. So you couldn't have been about too much of nothing. Couldn't have been. It wasn't worried about your ass. That means you was bought and paid for. Because all them other brothers who wasn't bought and paid for and was actually taking it to them, didn't live long.
Exactly. They was out of there.
They was out of there. They got rid of their ass. So what's your excuse? How'd you survive? Why don't you have any survivor's guilt?
It's like, look, man, at the end of the day, like all your homeboys ended up dying, but you stayed alive. All right, that's all right.
And you wasn't snitching. You sure?
You wasn't? Are you
sure?
All
All
right.
right, man. When that
Takashi
tape come
6.
out, I ain't gonna be yeah, man. Snitch 9.
Jesse 9. Oh man, that's hilarious. But go ahead, Seven.
But oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I'm just getting out of here, brother. So I got to get on the
All
road.
right.
So I appreciate you brothers having the space. I'll still be listening from the cloud, but I'm getting off this panel so I can drive.
All
and
right.
not
No
hurt
problem.
nobody.
Perfect.
Appreciate having you, brother.
Peace.
Oos.
Oh, no
Oos.
problem. Appreciate you guys having me here. Oos to you too. And I'm not butt sliding out. I'm just honoring Michael Jackson and backslide. Peace.
No doubt, no doubt. We're gonna call you Sensei Shop or the Scorpion. You know what I'm saying? You hit him with that. Get
If you
over
want
here.
if you want that name, that is Scorpius Rex. All right, y'all. Peace.
All right, be
All right,
cool,
brother.
man. All right.
I was gonna say, Go Professor's really been putting in some work. So let's give him a you win, give him some color in his belt,
All right, hold on. We're gonna level him up.
You for sure.
All right, cool. Let me level him up. While I'm doing that, was there anything that you wanted to say? You was on in regards to the subject?
Yeah, I do think that, and it's imperative for brothers like us in this space, to start the conversation. I've been on several streams where I would hear, some brothers, they just watch a whole bunch of BGS videos and think they know everything. They don't even have their own piece to the conversation. So I think in comparison to that, right, or in response to that, not reaction, because we give logical responses over here, not emotional reactions. So in response to hearing something like that, this channel is born, right? We're producing content, and it's pretty much initiating a conversation, a greater conversation that needs to be had, and one that includes our voice outside of the negative connotations that are associated with millennials like ourselves, right? As Artisan was saying before he he left the dojo, that we get a bad rep constantly. So it's not commonplace to see sensible millennials like us or like Art of Immore, popping up and having or starting these discussions and producing said content. Instead, we get the highlighted millennials that would call BGS, that would disrespect BGS, or say, call in and say, I don't need to look at a map. Liberia, I don't need to know where that is. Why do I need to know that? But let me talk about the situation, though. You know what I mean? So it lets me know, right? And it lets us know that we are getting the work done. And we'll continue to strive and move forward in pushing this conversation along so that other brothers have access to the information. And the way that we break it down, because like as you just heard, it's not many people are breaking it down, right? And everyone should have known what these pieces of literature are, seeing that they've been out for a substantial amount of time. And other content creators have talked about it, but we've taken up the mantle of really doing a deep dive on the literature and bringing it to how it affects us. And I'm pretty sure if it's affecting us, it's affecting other brothers like ourselves. That I don't think that's what's the word I'm looking for, a wrong observation on our part. And we have Go Professor in the building. Oos.
Let me go ahead and hold on.
You win.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the ranking. I can carry a weapon now.
You deserve it. You deserve it, man. You've been putting in that work, supporting the dojo since the opening.
Facts.
And that needs to be recognized.
Uppercut!
Well,
Uppercut!
I just want to say, I appreciate, these spaces. I want to make sure I support these spaces because, as brothers, black men, we lack that space to build, express our disenchantment with things that are going on. We see a lot of things that are happening, but our voices are muted. So we need this kind of space. That's why I go hard on in these spaces, and supporting. I'm not trying to take over spaces, come in like I know everything. I'm here to learn just like everybody else. You know what I mean? But I'm into supporting these spaces. That's what I'm about. And I appreciate you guys creating the space and welcoming me into this space, and so we can build. So I just want to express that point to you guys.
Oh man, that's much appreciated. It's humbling, honestly.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, man, and salute to our Charles Oos. Um, welcome to the dojo. I think that you touched on an excellent point that well, you said a lot, and so I just wanted to, honor what you just said. For one, our space and what we've created is not of our own. It's built off of the shoulders of the other content creators that came before us. And it was built off of the ancestors and the folks who actually paved the way and continued to do the work before this YouTube space was created and basically kept this information and kept the fight alive. And so it's almost an obligation, almost a charging of for us to contribute in any way that we can, and knowing that nobody is above the mission. And one of the most impactful pieces of this literature that I've noticed as we delve into it is we're always referred to as a collective. It's always the collective and how they see us. However, in the socialization of us as men, for them they call us males, but for us as men, they do their best to keep us on this individualistic type of mindset or track, right? Where it's all about me and it's all about mine, and forget the collective. And one of the contributions that I think that we want to do and definitely advocate is finding that balance of the respect of male space and the respect of male boundaries. Like you said something imperative, you said something crucial. You said I came here to support, I didn't come here to step on any toes and things of that nature. One of the things that they charge us up with, and one of the things that we all can kind of fall prey to, is getting in our own way or getting in our own collective self-interest as a group, vis-a-vis ego. Is like, whoa, why is such and such out here performing and getting all of this, all of these accolades, and falling again into the whole symbolism of recognition, which is typically charged up by our others in the community, saying, well, why aren't you up there in front stage being the lead singer? Or why aren't you doing this and all of that other stuff? Not knowing that us as a group, we're all winning if we can all get there at the end of the line, and it takes a certain amount of humility. Because I know for me, and I'm not in this space, like, I just do what I can, you know, I do what I can to support as well. And if it comes in the form of, you know, right now it comes in the form of co-hosting this panel with the Seventh Project. But when I'm on other brothers panels, I'm supporting, hitting likes, I'm kicking trolls up out of, you know, I'm kicking trolls up out of Dr. T.S.Johnson's Johnson's streams or whoever else's streams, and anybody that's about something, I'm riding for them. If anybody that's about the interest that I'm about, in whatever form that they come in, you know, I'm gonna show love, and I'm gonna give support and respect. And so for me to do this stream, it's just another piece in the equation, you know. So I know that I'm not bigger than the program, and I know that the stream isn't bigger than the program, just as much as Dr. Tommy Curry's book is definitely a stepping stone, and it's a tool to be utilized so that it can be built upon. And when we get out of the mindset of, well, I need to be the final, like this hero mentality of, well, I need to be the final one to, you know, hold the Goblet King and all this other stuff, then we can actually move forward on a collective basis. But Brother Seventh, I don't know if you wanted to comment on that or give your take, but that's the impression that I got. I definitely felt humbled and, you know, appreciative for you to, you know, support with your time, energy, respect, and donations, you know, and everything that you've done while here. So you definitely earned that wrench.
I mirror the same sentiment, West Coast, and what is both interesting and satisfying is the ability to pass the baton. You know, I noticed that is something that is also an issue in this space, right? It's, you have some who are not willing to pass it on. You know, they would rather be the guy working 50 years on the mission, and they're like, I can't trust nobody else with the baton. I need to hone it myself and keep it myself. It's like an orange lantern. You know, you have some dudes that have that orange lantern or the orange ring. Yeah, pretty much that orange lantern power with them, or complex, that they need to protect it, and no one else, it doesn't belong to anyone else. When in actuality, there's a bigger threat outside of them, and they can't look beyond their own greed. And that would leave us vulnerable. But for having brothers like yourself to come up and, you know, do the work and support the channel and share these sentiments, it's like, it lets me know that it's possible to beat that orange lantern complex. You know, though I'm seeing it in mass, I understand that there's hope to do it. And Artistan, you're right on point, right? Larfleeze, right? That's the space golem. There you go. And go, Professor, again. We thank you. I said we thank you and appreciate you bowing in to the dojo, consecutively supporting the dojo, and even adding your 2 cents as a contribution. It fulfills our purpose, and it continues to help us fulfill said purpose.
Well, you know, once again, I fully support and appreciate these spaces. The dojo, BGS Ibmore, Crimson Cure, Angry Man, without question, DS1. I'm strong in them spaces, so I'm strong as far as, you know, open to learn, listen, and build. Being set and expressed. I did say also that I'm an avid student of Mr. Neely Fuller, right? And I study books like, for example, not. I have that. I study a certain way. You know, because of my time, I do certain things a certain way. So when I read my books, I read a page, 2 pages, well on it, and go back to it. You know, because I have material that you know, I got books. I try to read them. So I can be someone who can speak on certain subjects, learn about the subjects, and become speak with a lot of young men, and these things are to better us, you know. So I put in that work to continue to be someone who can help, you know, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need to help each other, you know. It was something in the chat. I said, I think it was Artisan said that it was something mentioned about black men need to help. No, it was about being prepared. That's what it was, being prepared. And I had said in the chat, I said, hey, in my view, the black man is already prepared. And this is, and being that because when you're at the bottom, where else is there to go? And we've been at the bottom for the longest since back when, you know, so we've always been prepared. You know, it'd be those others that jump out the window. You see? So I continue to work and build in these spaces, you know, and in this dojo, it's a young dojo. Hey, I want to be a part of it when it's a large dojo. You know what I mean? Because it will be large, but we also have to maintain discipline at all times. You know, so that means when people come in with the madness, you know, we automatically you know, apply discipline. We don't have to be rude or anything like that. We just quickly diffuse that quick, you know, without question. We diffuse that, you know, because it can become a contaminant, and we don't want the dojo to be contaminated. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
absolutely,
that's important.
I think that
and
I think that yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that you know, you mentioned Neely Fuller, and I think about the amount of work that that code of conduct, the compensatory code of conduct book that he drafted. It's very no nonsense, and it's very straight to the point. A lot of those tenets in regards to how you deal and interact with detractors and antagonizers, a lot of those philosophies are definitely applied and considered at the very least, especially when interacting with guests and people who come into this space. Because again, I know that, well, we know that the type of material that we're going to be covering and some of the topics that we're going to be covering is going to be of that ilk that isn't going to be as popular. So yeah, having a code of conduct and having a manner in which we carry ourselves and how we handle detractors, as well as trolls. And I did, and I separate the two is something that we definitely consider and keep in mind when they do come as we continue to grow. I was curious on your thoughts in regards to the man not as it relates to Neely Fuller and some of the things that Neely Fuller touched on as far as areas of human activity in connection with the man not, especially since you said that you're well read in it. I'm curious on what your thoughts were on it.
Okay. Clarity is important. I said I study. I'm a student of Neely Fuller. That doesn't mean I'm well read. That means, it takes a lifetime to be well read. And I said I also have quite a few books. I study a certain way. Now, to answer your question, how does the compensatory United Compensatory Code of Racism concept of racism relate to the man not, right? That's your question, right?
Correct.
Okay. So being that okay, I put it in this manner. Historically, we have in Mr. Neely Fuller's terms, we have been prisoners since the inception of us, right? We've never had a code, right? So being that the unit had to be broken, there was never a code that was implemented. Okay. So we have the code, which is Mr. Neely Fuller's books, and they speak on our being, our way. How that relates to the man not is because our position as Black men, well, we're not considered the men, we're considered children, but Mr. Curry speaks to that, how we're positioned, how we're treated, not only by the system of racism, white supremacy, but by the women who are part of the system, the gynocratic system, that has built us into a position where we struggle to grow. So for us to build, we have to constantly study, read, and gain understanding of our position, because this whole system, these tools to hold us in a position, it's a reason why we're in this position. When you have the Black men at the bottom, the very bottom, there's a reason why they have you at the very bottom, because they understand your position. Your position is you've heard of the saying, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. This is us, but we're not on code. So Mr. Neely Fuller and Mr. Curry, they have different concepts, but it still meets one point. And that's, we must build on ourselves. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she spoke to our position, the Black man's position. She's saying that when you are recognized as something that can destroy something, well, they have to destroy it before it destroys them. So these things speak to our personal being. There's a reason why from inception of our from when we're birthed to the time we're of so-called adult age, we're subject to so much more than anybody else in the world. So I don't know if that answers your question. I kind of tend to ramble sometime. I kind of get like BGS. You know?
No worries, no worries. I think I get the gist of what you're saying. While you were speaking, I actually I pulled up the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept of
Yes,
counter
sir.
racism code, and there was an excerpt in politics that, because we were talking about politics a little bit earlier
Yes,
during this stream, that I think may be worth value of just putting into the sphere and keeping in keeping in regards to what was discussed in the man not, especially in regards to politics, in regards to how black male bodies are used to
yes,
basically be
proper.
exploited for whatever measures or
Yes,
whatever means that they're looking for.
yes,
So this excerpt from the compensatory counter racist code says the 10 basic stops that victims of racism should practice in thought, speech, and or action. Number 1 is stop snitching. And that's
yes,
a quote unquote saying harmful things about people who should not be harmed. To snitch is to willfully and deliberately volunteer information about a person with the specific intention of gaining direct or indirect personal favors and or praise from the racist white supremacists. When victims of racism, non-white people carry messages about and or witness against any person in a manner that gives aid and comfort to the racist white supremacists, such actions only help to promote injustice. It is just and correct for all people, to the best of their will and ability, to avoid situations wherein they believe they may be tempted or expected to snitch. Snitching should not mean speaking to protect yourself or others from false accusations or from unjust acts. Snitching does mean to say something to try to, quote unquote, get ahead of someone by taking unjust advantage of his or her lack of correct judgment. Importantly, any person who mistreats another person should be revealed to the entire world as being the person who did the mistreatment. No exceptions. Revealing injustice is not snitching, it is correct reporting. Reporting mistreatment in a manner that helps to produce justice is always the correct thing to do. Um, I'm gonna cover some more overheads, and I'm gonna circle back to this first one because I found that very interesting.
yes, sir.
The second one is stop name calling. The third one is stop cursing. The fourth is stop gossiping. Fifth is stop being discourteous. The sixth is stop stealing. The seventh is stop robbing. The eighth is stop fighting. The ninth is stop killing, and the 10th is stop squabbling among yourselves and asking racist white supremacists to settle it. One of the major non-just acts that racist white supremacists commit is to establish situations that cause or entice non-white people to squabble among themselves. Watch this. The racists want non-white people to continue to be their subjects and victims. While using non-white people as victims, the racists particularly want the non-white people to squabble among themselves and then beg them, the racists, to settle the squabbles. This is one of the major ways that the racists have been maintaining their power. They also do this to, quote unquote, prove their power, feed their egos, and amuse themselves. They do this for fun, glory, and or material comfort. Racists do not approve of any fights or arguments between non-white people that non-white people settle among themselves without the so-called help of the racists. Racists do not knowingly allow any non-white person to do anything that does not directly or indirectly help to promote racism, white supremacy. Racists approve of and entice non-white people to fight each other, kill each other, squabble with each other, name call each other, and or do anything that helps non-white people to remain confused and, get this, non-constructive.
Right. 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 Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes,
as
sir.
now reading that excerpt, what is that last what does that last one sound like in regards to the discussions that have been going on in the manosphere, right? Especially with um a particular individual that was introduced into the manosphere as a means of solving or resolving the petty squabbles that were occurring during these past few weeks. Um, I I I think about when I read that passage, how much of this behavioral trauma and behavioral just movement or decisions that are expressing themselves in this space that are so common, um that are so common when we deal with each other on a face-to-face basis, that has become normalized, but we have this expectation that it's just supposed to be resolved. I I think what I get from this passage is just that, one, the issue that we have as far as squabbling and like all of these conflicts, for all of my tech heads, it's considered as designed, meaning this is a part of the program. That's exactly what you want to do. So I'm not surprised, but on the second hand, to actually combat it and actually go against it, understand that that is going to be more of a challenge to actually combat it than basically either one, be stuck in the mud, or be in this perpetual state of virtual signaling that you want to be out of the mud, but continue to push the narrative forward. Because that's the biggest. I think that is the biggest challenge. It's not even the fighting; it's the habit that we've gotten into for certain, like my brother Seven says, conflict creators, where they will start a whole bunch of beefs and petty squabbles and then virtue signal about how we need to stop all of this, all of these arguments and all of this other stuff, not knowing that that is the new trick bag that we're in now. It's not even the fact that we're fighting, because we can literally fight over anything, and this sector is determined that this sector has shown that anything is worth squabbling over, whether it's females, mics, you name it, productive versus non-productive, whether or not you should negotiate, whether or not your woman should be submissive or cooperative, or what if he pays half the bills, or what if he does this, or what if his shoes are green. It doesn't matter what the argument is, as long as it's towards a non-white individual and is non-productive, then you're good to go. You good money. But the minute that you start to fight that actual programming and bring stuff up, that's when you have a fight on your hands. That's when you have these trolls. That's when you have, you know, 600 watchers instead of 10,000 watchers, because that's when you know that you're on to something, and not being discouraged when you don't see the quote unquote results that you expect or that you should want, because what you're doing is actually out of the norm. So yeah, I brought that up just as a point of reference in regards to what we talk about um, in the man, not because the snitching part. That's what I wanted to get back to, the snitching part. For all intents and purposes, and I'm redefining the word snitch, so the same for my street cats in regards to doing illegal activity, but we're talking about currying material or basically personal favor uh, at the expense of somebody else's behalf. Wallace's interpretation and book that we've been covering in the Man Not is a perfect example of that. You quote unquote snitched on your black men based off of a personal anecdotal view, which was self-admitted in the end when you couldn't do anything after the damage has been done and it's been put into the ecosystem. You are the reason why we are in this space today. The brothers and sisters who are doing the same, who are performing those same habits. Yeah, I'm a doc such and such because he whoop de whoop whoop. Because I'm gonna do it for the truth. Because I'm gonna keep it real. Y'all just a whole bunch of non-productive brothers, and y'all can just go off and die. And anything that you do, to try to redeem yourself, you ain't ever gonna be nothing because I'm such and such. You fall in that same you fall in that same you fall in that same ilk, you fall in that same cloth, whether you know it or not. And that's the part that is the piece that the piece that I want to observe and kind of dissect when we go through the man night, is this level of this level of subtlety that we have to face. Because even Neely Fuller says that if you don't understand the basics and intricacies, not only the intricacies but the basics of white supremacy, everything else will confuse you. And I think that is where we falter, but it's by design that we falter, because this information isn't intended for us to know, and we're supposed to be in this perpetual state of, well, why aren't we better? We got this. What's it? Insert now. We have, a hashtag spray painted throughout our cities. Why aren't we, better, and all this other stuff? It's because you don't understand the basis of the system that you're operating under. Even without you knowing it. It's bigger than just the external. It's the internal. It's what you've been socialized to believe. You have this in you, and little things and little observations, books that actually provide historical documentation as well as suggestions, because this is Neely Fuller's take in regards to how to combat the predicament that you're in a compensatory counter racist code fashion. It's the information is there, like old professor said. We're definitely ready, but as you know, if you're not able to move as a collective, all of it is for naught, because those who actually manage and move the herd, they're the ones that ultimately have the control and have the prize. And so that's where I'll leave it. And Brother Seventh, if you wanted to add something to it, or Gold Professor, if you wanted to hop on and spit, go ahead. But yeah, that's my piece in regards to the connection between the two.
Um, you just did. That speaks quite a bit. The code book speaks to a certain thing. Okay, it has it speaks to certain information, right? We read just what you read, right? We're speaking to what is constructive and what is not constructive, right? So when we speak of what is constructive and what is not constructive, it's speaking to what I had said earlier. Anything we do, we have to be disciplined. If you're doing something that's not constructive, then are you being disciplined? If we're doing something that's constructive, are we being disciplined? It people says, when you turn on that light and turn off, that light is on cold. So when we speak to what is constructive, what is not constructive, be disciplined. Whatever it is you do, that's why.
Looks like we lost him.
I'll jump in.
All right.
When I think about the non-constructive versus constructive,
We have protect space. You have discipline.
Hey, go professor.
The code is Mr. Neal's book speaks. Okay, you don't come into the space telling on,
Hey, go
snitching
professor.
on any and everybody.
Go professor.
To get some gratification for yourself at the same time destroying the space. Right?
Hey, go professor. I think you're bored.
We have to be disciplined.
Go professor. I think you're boring a little bit.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah. Sensei 7th, are you able to hear him?
I'm able to hear him, but he is Borgin. You know, he might have to come out. He might have to go out and come back in.
Yeah, go professor. Come out and then come back in. You're Borgin a little bit. As far as when you're speaking on the Neely Fuller book. So can you come out and come back in for us?
Right. But as he does that, what I was saying to your point, West Coast, is especially when talking about staying on code, I think about Star-Lord in the Avengers movie, right? How all he had to do was help them take off the Infinity Gauntlet. And because we have Smooth in the dojo, Oos. Yeah, we don't know what happened either, Gold Professor. We might have to figure that out.
Yeah.
But to that point, I think about Star-Lord and how what I'm seeing in this space is they're getting in their feelings, right? And going off code and causing the rest of the team to falter. Because all he had to do, you know, they were close. They were so close to getting the gauntlet off, but he hit him one time and pretty much jogged or invigorated him to fight them back.
Yeah.
You know, he was doing something by wailing off on him, but it actually jumpstart his rage and pumped his adrenaline to get Thanos to throw everybody away. Like, oh yeah, I thought y'all was gonna win. No, it's not happening. And you could thank this guy for it. You know, and when he's like, oh, did we lose? It's a let me see if I can find a GIF for it.
It's like, is the Bosco of the Manosphere the Star-Lord? Is Bosco the Star-Lord of the Manosphere?
Hey man, yep. Hold on. Wait, did I get it? Perfect. Let me pull this up on screen. You know, all you had to do was stay on code and do one thing. You know, we even gave you the most serious part of the job. And you fumbled the ball, and then you had the audacity to ask this question. Face and all. You know. And then when we respond to you, you should already know the answer, so you should never ask the question, but it's like, no shit, Sherlock. And we say this to you right before you disappear, because you're one of the guys that ended up crumbling away. Now we have to clean up the mess that you made. and get the job done the correct way. You know, I think we need to mitigate fixing cleaning the mess of those that fumble the ball. Try to ascertain who is going to fumble it and maybe not pass it to them. Maybe not pass them the ball at all. You know, let them find another role for them other than being the one that carries the ball. Even when they say that they're up to task and they're willing to do it and they're going to do it, you know, we gotta look at them in all their works, right? We gotta know who we're dealing with if we're going to pass them the ball. I mean, if we already know that if you're the braggadocious type and you need to get all your points across before you actually carry out the mission properly, then maybe we shouldn't rely on you for the, you know, life or death situations or missions. It's like when I think of a light mission, right? I think about like Naruto. There was one episode they had him like chase a cat. You could do those missions. We just give you a higher rank. Just say that it's a B mission and you're just chasing a cat. You know, to make you feel like you're up there in the league. Because this is getting out of hand, man. I think that with respect to this space and the current environment, as we continue to survey the environment and the situation that we're in, we need less of the dudes that are gonna veer off code. Like we don't need anyone who's gonna just say they're up to task, and then soon as they get the time to shine, they fumble or even worse, they betray us, right? And then they say, you know, I'm just joining the winning team. You guys get it through your head. It's done. We're done. We don't have time to mess with those guys either, you know. Death before dishonor. Especially here in the dojo. You know, we might have to hand a lot of these brothers the dagger and tell them to stick themselves and to stick themselves again for good measure. Because these are some very trying times, and if we don't get as much brothers up to snuff as possible, you know, we won't have a solid stronghold. You know, and with any structure, the foundation is, if that's not strong, it could come toppling over, crumbling away. You know, Go Professor, you're right. You know, bragging is against the code. But I've heard several accounts of brothers being better than George Floyd, brothers being better than other content creators, brothers being better than the quote unquote non-productive, or the Pookie or the Ray Ray, or as they eloquently put it, the game niggas. I do think that it's getting out of hand, and it makes me question their end game. Like, what is the goal? Right? What are you doing all of this for? Really? Like, I want to know the truth. Don't give me the packaged bullshit that when you open the box you just get nothing but smoke and mirrors. I want to know what your real goal is, because I hear a lot of brothers say they want the betterment of us as a collective, and in reality all I hear is kill the competition so I can get access to the women that nobody wants anyway. And that's ironic. But what do you think, West Coast?
Man, I think it's they want them. It's theirs for the keep. It's theirs for the keep, man. Be honest with you. As far as us moving as a unit, this is a part of the process. I think that's kind of what's lost in translation sometimes with the discussions and kind of the observations of what happens of the collective or group is if there's no conflict and there's no I'll say if there's no type of tension, then that means that there's no real growth. So on one hand, I do understand that this is a part of the game. There's a part of the growth of a collective, of a group. And I don't know if Artisan is still in here, but like as I was reading the foundation or listening to the foundation, that's something that's talked about and stressed a lot is when it comes to any type of group and it comes to any type of entity, there's always going to be a conflict when you're growing because you're trying to expand, you're trying to build. And in your building, you're naturally going to intrude in other people's spaces. And so when I think about the man not and I think about the literature that we're reading, and why it can be considered so detrimental to forces internally and externally within our subgroup is seeing black men grow is discomforting, not only for us, but for those surrounding us, because we're creatures of habit, and to see and to change perspectives and views of folks is it's an uncomfortable task, you know. And for some it's almost devastating, you know. Devastating in the sense of how do you tell somebody it's like you have a best friend that's, I don't know, a superhero. You use that analogy, right? It's like finding out your best friend is it's like finding out Peter Parker is Spider-Man. It's like you can't be Spider-Man because you're this nerdy kid who, you know, is always tripping over his feet, never is able to, you know, get things right. Just always late for work and, you know, just going through all of these hardships that, you know, are within your control if you just get it together, not knowing that in the background, you know, you have all of these superpowers and you putting on this mask to defend the same city that you think that us as heroes or the hero at hand has no control over or has no impact over. I think of it in those terms as far as identity is concerned, less about what our potential as black men are and what we can do, which is another conversation which can be served at another time, but just in the manner of identity. People get uncomfortable and people don't like when their identities or people's perception of people's identities is shattered because you have a certain schema and a certain mindset that you've already established. This is why like I think of the story of anybody who made it out the hood, right? Shout out to my street folks that made a way for themselves and got it out the mud and you know, made a name for themselves or just separated yourself from your environment. One of the things that a lot of the people inside of, you know, said environment accuse and charge them up with is being fake and not being real. And there's always that argument of, being real, and, this isn't who you are. And I remember when you was poor and you wasn't, you wasn't anything. And now you think that you the man, and you doing all of these big things, and you having all of these growths, you having all of this growth. Who do you think you are? I only know you as what I've already pegged you to be, which is just this little boy who, you know, who didn't think of themselves as anything, right? Remember when you came to me and you were sleeping on my couch, or whatever the case may be, whatever example that they try to give. But in that example, I'm focusing solely on the identity piece, where exactly, go professor, prisoners mad at prisoners, right? It's like you can't be a prison, you can't be anything bigger than a prisoner, because that's how I have identified you in my world, in my worldview. And I think that is that is one element that is prevalent in these discussions, as far as the back and forths internally. It's like this it's this internal monologue, right? It's like, what story are you telling yourself, and what story are you projecting onto others that you see as yourself or your group? When you see a Robert F. Smith, do you see for all intents and purposes, a coon, or a house Negro who didn't, who escaped, and was just a coward and didn't really go through the mud? Or do you see a successful brother who, made something of himself? Or what do you see in 50 Cent, right? Do you see him as, oh, you just that dude who got shot 9 times, and, you know, you wasn't loyal to the hood because you didn't stay there, and you aren't giving out turkeys to the hood, or you not living in Queens anymore, so you're not really who you are. You're not really this mogul, or you're not really this businessman. You are what we say you are. I think that personal, like, using that as an example, I think that is what happens a lot when you talk about us as brothers coming together, or us growing out of these stereotypes or these social roles that we've been assigned to. It's just some folks aren't able to see it. And I think that what we have here in the Black manosphere, is just another iteration to provide an angle and how to attack that problem of brothers trying to identify and see that, you're not this trope, not even on some like romanticized idealist type thing. Like, yeah, you can be whoever you want to be, but really from a concrete stoic type of perspective, like, hey, this is your station in life. This is what you've been assigned. However, these are your alternatives. This is, to a certain degree, these are some of the elements that you have cooked up against you on a human activity level and on an intrapersonal level. Um, it's not in your advantage. However, you have opportunities and ways to maneuver out of it. Here are your options, and in doing so, these will be the results, and these will be the outcome. I think that if brothers take that approach, or kind of come at it from that lens, you can kind of avoid some of the pitfalls that come with navigating in in this society, because it's one of the things that they like to capitalize off of, outside of just the symbolic nature of things, is emotionalism, like attaching our emotions to everything that we do, whether for good or for bad. Um, Seagull Professor says many can't discern the difference between a conversation and argument. Many relate to being passionate to being a conversation, but really it was that person engaging in an argument. Exactly. Exactly. So, like, yeah, and you see that throughout this sector. That the sector is just a small sample size of what happens in larger context. Like, everything that happens in the sector is not new. Like, you can see it on the Shade Room, you can see it any other TV show or whatever outlet where somebody will try to have a discussion or make a talking point. Matter of fact, even with as much as I don't agree with what Candace Owens like stands for her from a political standpoint, her interaction with Ti is a perfect example of what happens in the manosphere, right? Where it's like she as an entity or as a person, you're not even attacking the talking points that she's bringing up. You're just attacking like, oh, she's bad, so anything that she says is just BS. So anytime Ti pops up and says, oh, well, Candace Owens, you just don't like black folks. Yeah, I know that's right. Yeah, F that beat. It's like, and it's like, fam. And the funny thing was, Killer Mike had to step in and moderate. Like, look, you may not agree with everything that she says, or you may think that she's on some BS, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of respect that needs to be established. Going back to Neely Fuller's point of how you conduct yourself, because you shoot yourself in the foot when you don't show your enemy, and I say that loosely, or your opposition a certain amount of respect. And this is why I like this being the dojo, because it's not about ducking fades with anybody who has opposing views. It's about a certain amount of respect that you engage in. There's a saying that I recall is just like, there's nothing worse for a warrior to have than than dealing with an unworthy opponent, and like you kind of discredit yourself, or you show a certain level of weakness when you don't allow folks to say their point, and you're not able to dismantle it effectively. Because the minute you start going into ad hominems and personal attacks, then you've already lost. Like, you're an unworthy opponent. And a lot of these folks, especially the ones that come at the elders and people who really built this space, you're unworthy opponents to these elders. And the only reason why you're able to actually step into the ring or into the dojo with them, or into the battleground with them, is just based off of our society allowing us to just mesh together. But for all intents and purposes, you don't hold a candle to them, not off the base of emotional sentiment of, oh, this is an elder, or, oh, this is, this is such and such his name as a name. This is this is the king or whatever. No, it's based off of content. And I know that a lot of you are moved off of emotion, and you moved off of how you are socialized and how you deal and speak with people who are actually saying something that's of value. Because trust me, there's plenty of older people who are not elders, who are, here to detract and lead you down the wrong way. You have their fair share, but in that same token, there are some older people that are elders, and what they're saying adds up. And it's not it's not for a younger listening to them. You're not a sheep, because even in how they speak, in the manner that they speak, it's not on some emotional BS. A lot of the folks who I regard or I hold respect to, they never say, well, listen to me because this is just, I'm the one, I'm the dude, I'm, everything that I say is king. They're like, no, if you have any challenge to what I have to say, it's just like, well, I'm not going to put that assumption. So even when I was in university, right, I was in college, like, all of the professors, they allowed students to, provide a rebuttal, just have your sources and have a point to it, and actually make it coherent. Don't make it emotional. So for me to come into this space and I listen to folks and how they talk, it lets me know that you really don't have anything of value to say, because all you revert to is that schoolyard mentality. Well, I don't know what I'm saying, so I'm gonna just go ahead and just poke fun at something that has nothing to do with the point, because I know a lot of our culture is built off of that emotional, sustenance, and let it slide by, aka the butter slide. And it's like when you deal with that, exactly. Shout out to the 7 deadly sins. When you realize that is one element, because there's a lot of elements to this puzzle that we're trying to piece together. When you realize that that's one element to the equation as far as people's identity, on top of like self-serving interests, that'll be identifier or cue to be able to move forward and knock those people who aren't a part of the program or who are oppositions out of the way, in order to progress. And again, like when it comes to what we were talking about earlier in the stream about that one detractor, that one conflict agitator, who is going around to different panels and making her rounds and trying to get people riled up, men in particular, riled up off of the false narratives that have been constructed. When you're able to see past the wolves in sheep's clothing, when you're able to see past the smoke and mirrors, I think that that's a lot more appropriate. When you're able to see past the smoke and mirrors of their game, then it just becomes a flush. It's like, oh, I know what you are and how you move. Like you're 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 not a factor. you're really not a factor. Now let's get back to what we was talking about, or let's get back to the topic of discussion, but that's my take in regards to the thoughts of having a certain code in this sector, having the ability to maintain it and build off of it. And whenever there's an issue of conflict or, I like to call it just psychological warfare. It's a type of warfare. Like, I know that, it seems pretty, we got 500 people watching. It's like, I know it seems pretty like benign, but the stuff that we're talking about and the things that they're doing, it's a type of warfare, because their goal is to dismantle this space, for the sake of what did Neely Fuller say? And left the book on the side, but personal pleasure, financial gain, or a step ahead. But for whatever reason, the ultimate goal is what the ultimate goal is, and so that's my response into what you put forth, brother Seventh. But I'm gonna let Gold Professor. I'm gonna show this comment to Gold Professor, and then I'm gonna pass it off to you. He says some older people are fools, but we can also learn from a fool. A fool always leaves examples of what not to be. Always be courteous to the lesson. Exactly. Yeah. You let people talk long enough. What's that adage? It's 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just let people talk. They'll tell you they'll tell you who they are.
Think twice,
Yeah.
speak once, don't repeat yourself. These are some gems. I even dare to say some game that we're dropping.
Not the cuss word.
Yeah, I can't curse at them now. But as we move the conversation forward, right, and with respect to the man not, I really implore the 500 watching to revisit the first episode that we have launched of the literary analysis, so that way when we get to our next episode, I'll just give you guys a little teaser, so to speak. So we're going to be going over the following, and I might say this is a perfect segue into re-entering the literature, right? We touched on, within this particular stream, the economy of niggerdom, right? We slightly touched on it or hinted at it with the way money moves, or the way we wish money would move through not only this sector but the community as a whole, particularly the hands of Black men, so that we can, keep the resources within our group. However, that has been a rather difficult task, because there's still some, and it's interesting that we're reaching this topic, right? We're reaching the class warfare, even here in this sector. Stay tuned for episode 5. We'll get into that a little deeper, but really revisit the previous episodes. We've brought them back. We'll leave them up for about a week. This was the intermission, if you will. The perfect way to digress. I know this is a very hefty read, and a lot of us don't really have enough time to, or we say we don't have enough time to dive into the content. So allow us to help alleviate some of the pressure in the frontal lobe by breaking this thing down, and we have the conversation about it, instead of you being trapped in the tiny room with 4 walls looking right back at you as you look at them. Remember to stay hydrated. Keep yourself in the right state of mind, get some fresh air, take your vitamins.
Yes, indeed.
You are not a super predator. You are not an inherent rapist. You're not the abuser. You're not the oppressor. You are strong. And if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you would hear it here in the dojo. We are proud of you. Oos. May you continue to enjoy this coming week, and may peace and prosperity follow you. And with that, West Coast, final thoughts before you carry us out.
There it is. I think Brother Seven said it concisely, man. Y'all be cool out there, and have a good week. And hopefully, just hopefully, what's been broken down and disseminated is of value. Take it with you, and know that these weapons are at your disposal. So use them wisely. And with that, we out.
Perfect. Round 1. 4. 7. Round. Sonic boom. Uppercut. Shoryuken. You win. Japan. China. Brazil. You lose. Yoga fire. Tiger. That's like some burgers. Perfect.